here from Giardino de Ninfa, a garden in the territory of Cisterna de Latina in the province of Latina, central Italy. It's a park of an area of 105 hectares and is an Italian national monument. We're here today with episode number 18 of the PondCast. I did not have to double check that. And I am, of course, your host, Yaku of the Zaku. With me today is La Pizza Krusty Krab, quien es la pizza para ti y para mí, Light_VIP, and as ever, we are produced by Secretnia Formulae Krabipati Kitoratochki Siewi Mula Kuro 16 Squat Sunseki. How we all doing?
What's up, Yaku? You just made me hungry. Now I want pizza. Ay. But it's great to be back here. Another week, another edition of the podcast. And I feel like a lot has happened this week. Usually, we go over the tournament scores and maybe we have an event here or there. Last week, we had a lot of roster changes. We had a lot of kind of like players dropping from teams picking up players. But it feels like there's a little bit more that's been going on this time.
I mean, this time we have all of that.
Yeah.
And a lot more.
It's true.
It's going to be a long episode ahead of us, so strap yourselves in, everyone.
Exactly. We're going to be ready for the drama. But first things first, I don't know if you recall this, Yaku. I know it was a week ago, but in the last edition of the podcast, we were actually having a bit of a discussion about documentaries because we were going over the French
documentary,
the Clem trailer that was released last week. And suddenly, as we were having that discussion, we were talking about how, like, we don't really get documentaries or that kind of content anymore. It'd be nice to have it again. It'd be nice to, have someone take that initiative. And look, I'm not saying that it's because of us, but
you're welcome.
But a couple of days ago, Zombie Grub came out with an announcement.
Indeed, she did. Zombie Grub came out with an announcement that she was going to be funding a brand new project. Similar to the documentary style, but a little bit different. It's going to be an archive and a series of interviews, as well as an archive of StarCraft 2 esports. It's going to be called GLHF, StarCraft's Esports Legacy, and it's as we said, a series of interviews, a bunch of archives of some of the major moments and developments that we've had in the past and will be seeing in the future, and put together in some kind of accessible format. I don't think we really have much details on that third point yet, but that is going to be the plan here.
Yeah, it's a little bit vague as to how it's going to be brought to us and how digestible it's going to be, and if it's going to be like an episodic format or like these bigger videos or these smaller videos, how it's going to be cut up, how it's going to be edited. It is going to be quite an endeavor and quite a project that Zombie Grub is going to be working on. But as you mentioned, it is kind of like meant to be like a historic overview of, all the events and like all these big moments in StarCraft. There's just so much to go over. I'm sure she's going to be starting with like the early like MLGs, the early GSLs, like Pro League, going into BlizzCons, and there's just even in Wings of Liberty, there's like a lot to go over as well. Brood War transitioning into it. Like there's just so much content there. And I know that Zombie Grub has been talking about it for a very long time. For years at this point, she would talk about how like, it'd be nice if someone did this, if someone tried to like create content or create a video about the events that happened in StarCraft, because there's just so much there, and it's really cool that she took the initiative.
It's one of those things where it's like, it'd be really cool if somebody did this, and then it's like, from now on it shall be you.
Yeah,
that does it.
Exactly. And yeah, best of luck to Zombie Grub. Go on.
I was just gonna say, best of luck. It seems like it's, just looking at the timeline, it seems like it's just begun, or it's just started. October 9 traveled to Korea, and it's currently October 10th as we're filming this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Kickstarter started a couple of days ago, so it's still very early on. And there's still plenty of time for the Kickstarter to grow. For those that are curious,
Mhm.
the initial goal was a couple of $1,000s. It was $8,000. I think that was the first stretch goal.
Mhm.
But we have reached almost every stretch goal since then. Like it's only been a couple of days, and the
We're
Kickstarter has gotten a lot of support.
Yeah, we're just shy of the $20,000 stretch goal. We're at 19,600, rounding down a little bit there. And when we do hit that, she plans to have a EU based tour or interview tour on this. So right now, she's focused more on interviewing more of the Korean personalities, and I imagine Tasteless and State, as well as all the other players and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Before traveling over to
Crank.
Home Story Cup and doing that. Crank,
Yeah.
holy moly, that would be really, really good to get as well. I mean, there is a little bit of history between Crank and Zombie Grub there, so
Mm-hmm.
that I think is absolutely doable. But yeah, we're almost hitting the final two stretch goals, which is the EU tour and then the NA tour. Not just the NA tour at 30,000, but also the developer interviews pretty much, and trying to
Mm-hmm.
interview some of the devs and get more insights into how the process of creating StarCraft and StarCraft 2 went.
Yeah, like as a StarCraft fan, like this is definitely something I'm very interested in. We were even speaking, last week about how there's just so little, just just record that's kept of these kind of eras. Like we have our memory, we have VODs of tournaments, sure, but there's
we
like so much to like piece it all
we
together. Some of
we
us
have
have
our
memory,
we have our memory, and that's we know that's reliable.
always
We know that
reliable,
that's
happy
something we
always.
can always count on.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really cool that that's going to be like put to paper in some way, in some form. Again, it is going to be quite a project and quite a journey. So best of luck to Zombie Grub.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of this money will be spent on like hiring like editors and all that stuff as well. So again, there's a lot of potential for it to be done really
I'm
well.
yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that we've already hit this goal, but I'm mostly interested in the drunk StarCraft history segment that she has in the works now,
Yeah,
and we've already hit
that's
that.
yeah. I don't know what drunk history is. I'll be honest, but I guess it's like a YouTube series or something. So it'll be
Yeah,
interesting. We'll see
looks
what
like
happens.
an Adult Swim, like a kind of, yeah,
Mhm.
edutainment is how I would describe it. I haven't seen
Okay.
too many episodes of that.
Okay.
But
Fair
yeah,
enough.
it
Fair enough.
is a. I'm not sure if a bridge is the right word to use there, but yeah, I'm sure she'll be able to make something out of it.
Mhm.
Kickstarter is still live and will continue to be live for another 25 days from what I'm looking at. I'm not gonna lie, Light, I'm very tempted to get the number one fan of X player goal, but it is a little above my budget right now.
Who would it be? Who would your player pick be?
Here's the thing, my player, I feel like because I know she's also a fan of him, I feel like Zombie
Uh-huh.
Grump might have a bit of contention there, but my player would be MMA.
Mm-hmm. That's a solid
I
pick.
would
Definitely a
say I
solid
would
pick.
say Ryung, but like I think I mentioned it previously. Have no. I don't think I can claim to be Ryung's number one fan while Steadfast is still active.
True. True. There you
Steadfast is
go.
the number one Ryung fanboy out there. I wish it were me, but it's not.
hmm
Yeah, so MMA definitely would be mine.
I'd have a really hard time picking. It's one of those things where like is it sacrilege if I don't pick Crank, right? Like Crank is who brought
True.
us all
Our
together,
patron.
right? Yeah, if it wasn't for Crank, we probably wouldn't be here either. So that's a big one.
True.
The easy one would be Impact, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Like that's I feel a little bit robbed because I feel like Impact, he used to be a little bit more of a hipster pick. Like he was a little bit of a lesser known player compared to all these other big Zergs out there.
Yeah.
But especially now that he's like gotten so much more
Now that he's a
attention.
bodybuilder.
Yeah. It's like he's more mainstream now.
Yeah. I yeah. I would ask Kuro, but I think that would be cruel to ask her that.
It's gonna be Hero, right? Easy. Wait, who's gonna beat her?
And that's a cruel question to ask her.
I mean, look.
If she says one, all the other players that she mods for are gonna
True.
come
True.
crying to her doorstep
Very
and be like,
true.
"Why?
Yeah,
True.
They
yeah.
are
True
the
would
no-
be a good pick.
True,
True.
true.
I have not seen him in ages.
Oh
Actually,
my god. That's another good one. That's another really good one, actually. True. Ah, I miss him. I miss him.
Real
But
sad, man.
yeah, as you mentioned, still, almost a month left in the Kickstarter. So if you're interested, then, or if you want to support StarCraft, you want to support this endeavor, then we do recommend it. If I do believe that Zombie Grub, especially with all her work that she's put into StarCraft, she has definitely garnered definitely a reputation and is someone trustworthy to put her all into this project as well. I know that sometimes for other projects or other Kickstarters, sometimes it can be like, oh, is this person going to deliver? Is this actually going to happen? This even happened many years ago when it comes to other documentaries that never really came to fruition. Not naming names, but there were things that happened like that in the past. It took a very long time to produce. But for this, I do think that Zamrio, she definitely has her heart in the right place and will do a good job here. There's also other little things that you can earn from it as well. There's like a GLHF mug. There's like a T-shirt.
Yeah, GLHF mug looks fantastic, and I also think it's a good sign that obviously this is a pretty ambitious this is a very ambitious kind of project that she's undertaking, but looking at the goals, they all seem like pretty realistic. Like it doesn't seem like it's over promising anything too much.
Oh yeah, and I also appreciate that she's very transparent when it comes to the budget breakdown, especially for the first 8,000 USD. Is very transparent with that, with how much it would cost and all that stuff. Obviously, it's a little bit more vague moving forward, but a lot of that I'm sure is going to come down to flights, especially with the European tour and the NA tour, like a lot of travel costs and stuff like that. So I do think that's all pretty well kind of laid out and all that stuff. And we will most likely be reminding you about this Kickstarter every edition for the past month, for the next
week,
25
yeah.
days. Yeah. Like,
well,
as well.
As long as we get updates on it, we might as well update all of you on it as well.
We'll at least give a brief recommendation or reminder.
Yep. Yeah, I was just scrolling through it as well. I scrolled all the way back up and looking at the thumbnail, like, oh, this is 100% Fear Dragon. The thumbnail is like, did you know the first cable broadcast? I'm like, yes. A 99% useless fact. Thank you, Fear Dragon.
Thank you, Fear Dragon. Thank you. Este rap. Aye. So definitely do look forward to it. I definitely will be pledging myself as well. I haven't decided what tier of pledge yet, but we'll find something reasonable to jump into.
I found out that there actually isn't a tier for the mug. That's like an additional thing that you can get with any tier. So that's probably what I'm gonna end up doing.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. So we start off things off with a little bit more uplifting and definitely something to look forward to. I'm sure it will still take quite some time to actually bring together. And yeah, be cool to see what the outcome of this project.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
For sure. With that, we are going to be heading over to something a little bit more drama-based. Something that's actually quite sad, actually, and quite disappointing as well. Initially, we did hear the news that Firefly did part ways with Offside Esports, did leave the team, and shortly thereafter, some more details came out regarding it.
Yes, indeed. I couldn't believe my eyes when I first saw the announcement from Offside, and then when I looked into some of the more discussion going on around it, some of the more details that were coming out, I couldn't believe my eyes even further. Firefly, like you mentioned, has left Offside Esports due to some kind of TOS breaking, and from my understanding is that there were quite a lot of implications of win trading going on here with Firefly.
Yeah. Basically, at this point, I feel like it is indisputable that there was match fixing, just because receipts were revealed when it came to money transfers that was lined up with dates of matches and of tournaments as well. So because of that, it is pretty well established and pretty well confirmed that Firefly was match fixing, which is why he did end up leaving the team. We haven't heard any kind of statement from Firefly or anything like that yet, I believe. But yeah, it's really disappointing just because one, we haven't had a fixing scandal like this in quite some time, which is a good thing, right? Like for
Yeah.
quite some time, like everything was fine, everything was normal. And it's disappointing because like he's such a good player as well. Like he's got so many fans out there. He really made a name for himself over the past couple of years. Has been improving so much in the Chinese scene and the Chinese community, and for him to do something like this is disappointing to say the least.
Yeah, it hits a kick in the gut, is what it is. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I was rooting for Firefly the entire time. Back,
Mm.
even when he was a starving camel, he was
Yeah.
the player that got me onto that team. I was a huge supporter of Firefly. I really thought that he had the talent and he had the dedication to really become one of a top name in the Chinese scenes, and he kind of did a little bit. And I mean,
Mhm.
he kind of did, and there would have been potential for him to really cement himself there in a positive way, but now I think he's cemented himself, but in a very negative reputation.
Yeah, like when it came to his skill as a player, like we would often see him go toe to toe with some of the best players from Europe, some of the best players from the Americas and from Korea as
He
well.
he was the biggest like silver bullet, both on the Camels and offside esports. He was taking wins
Mhm.
off of Raynor, taking wins off of Clem.
Mhm.
Those are wins that we know for a fact were legit. That
Yeah.
they were wins that he actually won. But yeah, outside of those, outside of WTL, again, it's disappointing to hear that he was match fixing.
Yeah, for sure. I'll always remember there was like a best of 5 finals in ESL Americas where he went all the way to the ace match against MaxPax, went all the way to game
Yeah.
5 against MaxPax. This was like earlier this year as well, back during the on season of the EPT. And yeah, like he just had so much potential and he
And he
was
made
getting
it to
so many better
Katowice.
results.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I remember there'd be Chinese fans coming into our Twitch channel at times, saying like, "Yo, is like the Chinese scene now like as good as EU? Like now that they have like Oliveira in top form, they've got like Firefly, they've got Lancer, they've got Kofi as well, who pops in from time to time when it comes to spiking and skill. Like like all of them were improving so much together, and yeah, so to lose Firefly like this especially is quite sad. It's also interesting to hear like why this was revealed as well. I don't know if you read Yaku, but it looks like initially the reason why this came out was because he had taken money and that he hadn't given back to the person that was organizing
Oh,
all this match fixing
that
stuff. And so
he
because
got
and
outed by
yeah,
he got
by the guy.
ratted out by the guy.
Yeah, which is wild. But
That's Sopranos level.
which is why all these transfer receipts were revealed, because the guy
Revealed,
himself was the
right?
one that was giving him
That was
money and
burned,
all that stuff.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, so crazy way that it was
What a
revealed that
twist!
yeah. It's crazy. Oh god. So yeah, regardless
And that's how a lot of
with
these go
Mhm.
not just in esports, when betting in general. That's how a lot
Yeah.
of that's how a lot of these cases come to light. It's that a gambler or a bookie gets burned, and they're like, "All right, I'm gonna reveal, I'm gonna
Mhm.
out you to everyone."
For sure. So it's just a wild way to start the story off, but yeah, that apparently did happen. And with that, I don't know if we will ever hear anything from Firefly or any kind of elaboration from his team, from Offside Esports or anything like that. I don't know if we need to. If anything does ever come out, we'll probably talk about it like next week or the week after, or if that ever does occur.
Yeah. I would like to say, or I would like to think that in the StarCraft scene, at least, we do take things like this very seriously. I feel like something like this is something that does destroy a player's reputation pretty hard. I know that it's not really seen the same way in a couple of other esports scenes. Not naming any names here, but yeah, I do think that this is big enough that it may very well be the last that we ever hear of Firefly.
Yeah, well, I mean, no team is going to want to touch him, right? And I'm sure a lot of tournaments as well would probably put in a clause or would not accept him competing in their tournaments either, just because it would ruin the integrity of the event, of the team,
And
of
even
the
if it didn't,
esport.
the other players would boycott it.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. So it is quite a serious thing, and because of that, that most likely is going to be the end of Firefly's at least StarCraft career. But with that, we have some other more lighthearted, better news coming out
Yes.
as well. When it comes to some other player transfers, we mentioned before last week there were a lot of players leaving teams, a lot of
Mhm.
players joining teams, and that continues
We
this week
also
as
had a
well.
new team that we announced last week, and we're seeing a bit of a continuation of that this week. Streamer Zone, which we initially kind of thought were primarily focused on streamers, and that does seem to be their main goal. But it
Mhm.
does look like they are committing quite a bit hard to the esports side as well.
Mhm.
We got some new pickups for them. Firstly, we have Quanta, otherwise known as HH Quanta. Apparently, he's kept that handle.
Mhm. Yeah, we have Quanta and we have Geralt. As a reminder, last week Nightmare and Forjumi were announced.
Mhm.
And if you recall, after they announced, I think they announced Forjumi while we were doing the podcast.
Yeah,
And we were
we
theorizing
brought it
like,
up
oh,
right at the end of last week's podcast.
exactly. We were trying to theorize like, oh, if they got any other players, who would it be? I think we said maybe like Iba, because he was with Forjumi playing Archon mode, and maybe some of these other streamers. Something interesting is that after this was announced, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Geralt started streaming. And I don't think I've seen him
Yes.
stream on Twitch before. So I think that's also a bit of a clause here is these players that have joined the
Yeah.
team, they will start streaming more regularly.
And not the first time that a team has a clause like this. If you'll recall back in the day, Afrika Freaks had
Yeah.
a clause that they did require their players not only to stream on Afrika, but also to stream for a certain amount of hours each week.
Oh, yeah.
So that was, pretty cool. It's not a terrible clause either. I think this is honestly a pretty good idea for a lot of teams out there, especially if you're signing players who might not be as well known compared to a lot of the other big names, because streaming is how you get fans nowadays. That's how you get more eyes onto a specific player, and it's how you get it's how you get them to kind of build more of a fan base for themselves and for the team as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's just an easy way or a good way for the fans to actually
And,
interact with their favorite players,
and
for their personality to be
Mhm.
showcased a little bit more as well.
And I gotta say, sometimes it is something you have to force. To be honest, yeah, a lot of players are a little bit more reluctant, a little more shy to,
Mhm.
get their face and their voice out there through streaming and stuff. So again, this is not a bad way to encourage it.
Yeah, it's understandable. I think a lot of players, all they want to do is practice and compete,
Mhm.
right? Which makes sense. It does make sense. But the reality is that a lot of teams do get value
Yeah,
just from eyes being on
it
their players, and streaming is a really good way for that. And I know it's not for everyone. I
it
know definitely,
yeah
but I'm sure that the players
it
that were signed, like they wouldn't have signed if they weren't comfortable streaming.
yeah, it's one of those sad realities. I think that looking at you, Kespa, a lot of organizations took a very long time to realize is that
Yeah.
unless you are winning every single tournament, you can be really, really good. You can be grinding away and practicing games all the way, but unless you're making it to finals, it there you don't really have that much of an audience. And for esports teams, that's how you get your money. You get your money not based on the results of your players, but based on how many fans your players have
Yeah,
and
I
how
thought we
much
were
they're
gonna.
willing to spend on your team because of that.
Mhm. I thought you were gonna go the other way, because if you remember, I thought you were gonna say how if you recall, Kespa and Kespa teams, they
Yeah.
actually had their
Well,
own clause where they did not allow
that's why I
players to
mentioned it.
stream.
Yeah, that's kind
Yeah.
of why I mentioned it. I'm glad you picked up on that. I guess I
Hmm.
wasn't too clear on that, but yeah,
Hmm.
Kespa had that clause, which is why they weren't allowed making sure that or making it so that their players weren't allowed to stream. So unless your
Hmm.
name was like Innovation or I guess Rain or something like that, who you were winning consistently tournaments like that or making it to the finals of every single tournament, you might as well have been unknown to anybody outside of the really dedicated fan base. The people like us who are forced to watch every single round of every single tournament, and to
Uh-huh.
the casual people out there who actually have money.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're the ones who won't know who you are because you got knocked out in the round of 8 or even the semifinals as opposed
And
to the grand finals.
and you know what? Especially because apparently Zombie is already traveling to Korea. I'm sure that is
Yep.
something that she's going to be chronicling as well, right? Like the
Yeah.
whole Kespa situation. I'm sure like that's another really interesting thing as well is that we didn't often get to actually hear from the perspective of like Korean players or Korean coaches or just hear from
Yeah.
Koreans in general during that era as well. I remember infamously, I think it was a couple years later, Wolf, the ex
Yep.
SC2
The
commentator, like
X-Caster.
he actually opened up
Early
about it,
caster.
and he had, I think he was on, was it Recap? He was on a different SC2 podcast at the time where he was invited on and he was actually talking about it, and it was really interesting to hear just because like no one else hears what's going on in Korea unless you're there. So like there's definitely a different perspective that you can get by like having those interviews and hearing from them.
Man, now I really want to pledge that $100 because it's called the #1 fan of X tier, but one of
Mhm.
the rewards that you can get in that is to give a suggestion for future
Mhm.
interviews. So, man, now I really want to get that. But yeah, that's a really good idea, and that's something I'm sure Zombie Grub will have at the back of her mind when she is chronicling the history of, at least while she's in Korea, while she's chronicling the history of StarCraft esports there.
Mhm. Yeah. I still remember something really fascinating, which was because the reason why they had Wolf on was this was in the time of when MKP Marine King Prime, he had come back to SC2. I think this was in Heart of the Swarm, maybe early
It would have
Legacy.
been in
Um,
MVP at the time, I think.
yeah, and there was and he got in a lot of controversy because he lost a pro league game. He lost a pro league game. I think it was against Rogue at the time, where Rogue proxy hatched him, and he didn't
Sounds
react,
like Rogue.
even though there was a little
Yep.
bit of creep that he had seen.
Yes.
Oh, well, I say he had seen,
That
but
was.
his unit had seen, saw
Yep.
the creep, so everyone assumed, oh, he saw the creep, so he knows that there's a proxy hatch, so he can respond, and he didn't
They
end
didn't
up.
respond to it.
He didn't
Yeah.
respond to it. He lost the game, and everyone accused him of match fixing from
Yep.
there. And there was a statement released by Kespa. They said that like, oh, they went over it and everything's fine. He's fine as well. But a lot of people didn't. It was a very
They're
vague
like,
statement.
you sure
Yeah,
about
so a
that?
lot of people like they kind of just they keep like accusing MKP of that sort of thing. And then when Wolf had his interview, he explained, no, like Kespa took it really seriously. They confiscated his phone. They confiscated his
They went
PC.
through
They
his
went over.
messages and
Yeah, they went through his
everything, yeah.
messages. They went through like arguably they breached some like privacy there. But
Yeah.
like they went over everything, like took it very seriously with MKP, and they found that like no, he was clean, like everything was fine. But from the outside looking in, from the foreign scene, we didn't know that they went that far, that
Yeah.
they did that. And Wolf was like kind of like enlightening.
They
like,
weren't very
on-
transparent about what they were
Exactly.
actually doing behind the scenes to make
Exactly.
sure that Marine King wasn't match fixing.
Exactly.
Like you said, and like Kuro was pointing out here, it kind of destroyed him mentally.
Mhm. Yeah. Like, I remember hearing because this Wolf, the timeline, bear that in mind. This Wolf interview was months later. It was months later. So during that period, he would be harassed. MKP was being harassed a lot, and everyone was accusing him of something that wasn't real, and it took a long time for that to be revealed to people. And by then, the damage had been done. By then, like MKP, he was, I'm sure, having a hard time dealing with all that. But yeah, like that's. There's a lot. there's a lot of
There's
history
a lot
to
to
go
go
through.
over there. Yeah, there's a lot of history there just because of the fact that the big Korean orgs weren't transparent about
Yeah,
anything they were doing, really.
for sure. Oh my god. But yeah, so again, best of luck to Zombie Grub. And winding it back
Yeah.
a little bit,
And
congratulations
also winding
to
it back here to Streamer Zone, yes.
Yep.
Congratulations to Quanta and Geralt for picking up new teams. I mean, it was just last week we were talking about it and how Geralt kind of left Psystorm, but which blindsided us. He was kind of the de facto captain of Psystorm for a while, but yeah, I'm glad to hear that he did have a new team lined up for him, and he is joining a new team, which seems to know a thing or two about, at the very least, branding and stuff like that, making sure that their players will be able to build a fan base and stuff like that. Hopefully they will also be able to support them in the other traditional means that a team supports players, paying for travel and salary and whatnot.
Yeah, it's really interesting speculating a little bit here about Streamer Zone when it comes to their player picks because some of them feel a little bit more obvious. Like, I do think that Nightmare, Forjumi, and Geralt are very strong players. They're very active players in the online tournament scene as well, and it makes sense to pick them up, especially Forjumi. He already has an established
Mhm.
Twitch channel. He streams regularly already, so there's a lot of value there. Quanta is an interesting pick. I'm curious how they even found Quanta because Quanta is more of an upcoming semi-pro Korean player, and Quanta has actually been playing a lot more SC Evo than SC2. He's been competing in a lot of SC Evo
Mm.
tournaments, less StarCraft 2 tournaments. So yeah, I'm curious how they got
That might be a
introduced and
factor.
yeah, what happened there. Yeah,
Yeah. One of the guys over at Streamer Zone is just a fan of SC Evo.
either that or maybe
Potentially
Nightmare,
something.
like maybe a Nightmare
Yeah, Nightmare
recommended.
could have
Like
been. Okay. Yeah.
if they're friends and stuff, then that's also a potential as well. So yeah, Quanta's an interesting one.
An interesting one, but an interesting player as well. It's always
Mhm.
he's kind of like Hanmono-esque in this when it comes to his builds and strategies.
Yeah, he's not as much of an animal as Honmono, but very stylistic is what I will say. I've
Yeah.
got a lot of love for Quanta, and I'm always enjoying whenever I do manage to cast him. So it's really cool to see that he gets that
Yeah.
support. Another quick
What?
thing to theorize as well is I'm curious what happens with Psystorm. Like Streamer Zone, now they have a roster to compete in WTL if there is another season.
Ooh, true.
If there is going to be another season of WTL, Psystorm, after losing Geralt's, they might have to pick up someone or partner with another team.
Yeah, partner with another team other than Navi.
Mm-hmm.
Should be a little bit
Yes.
unfortunate. I mean, Sidestorm Navi, not the most creative pairing, but still
Uh-huh.
one that was iconic. Still one that, I mean, just having Max Fax and Spirit on the same team led to some
Mhm.
amazing matches.
Yeah. I mean, Max Pack, Spirit, and Geralt, like they were a very solid team in WTL, and I mean they made it to the playoffs as well. So they definitely. It would be a shame if they weren't in the next WTL season again, if there is one. So that's what I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye out for: is if Psystorm picks up a player, or if they partner again. Maybe Navi picks up another player. Like it's definitely something they have to think of if they're in that situation.
I'll also say one more thing about Streamer Zone, if we're ready to move on, is
Mhm.
we're now 2 out of 5 for Jumi's offline Twitch banner. We now have Jumi Potter,
Uh-huh.
Geralt Malfoy. Now
Yep.
we just need Trapani Granger, Harding Weasley, and Gandalf Harstem.
There you go.
So a 2 out of 5 there to making it reality.
Yes, we will make that offline screen a reality. We'll have to send that to the Streamer Zone organizers or to their org in general, and we'll make it happen. Make it happen.
I'll have to send it to Shopify and Genji as well and be like, yo,
Mhm.
I know Hearthstem and Trap are assigned to you guys, but for just one season, can we work something out?
Can we partner up with Streamer Zone or something for WTL? Can we make something happen here? I hope so. I hope so. But
And then we
as
need
you
to
mentioned,
drag Harding out of retirement.
we'll drag him back in once he finishes up with Stormgate. But with that, shout out to Streamers are definitely a team to keep an eye on to see if they even sign more players. I feel like they should be good here with 4, but it's
Yeah.
possible they might go for more.
Well, how
Definitely.
deep are their pockets? Is the question.
Yeah, true.
Do they want
Yeah.
to? Do they want to pull a Platinum Heroes?
Yeah, we'll see if they do go for that. Meanwhile, speaking of players and teams, we have a player that is currently looking for a team. Shout out to Moja, of course, the German Terran player, infamous for his most recent Home Story Cup performance, and I'm sure he'll be at the next Home Story Cup as well. He is a local German
Infamous.
player. We even went over his performance in the most recent Gabe tournament, the Gabe Experian event that occurred last week. So Moja, currently teamless, is looking for a team.
Yes, he was kind of the surprise, the surprise player to make it to the finals of that Big Gabe Cup that we were talking about. I mean, there were a couple of surprising results, but Moja coming into the grand finals facing Battle B and even taking a map off of Battle B, who I would say was the heavy favorite in that offline LAN, is definitely pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, Yeah, definitely. He's an impressive player. He has been more active recently. Definitely worth picking up. Again, I do feel like a lot of this and a lot of these teamless players, a lot of teams are going to be looking at them when the next WTL season is announced. He even said himself in the tweet how he wants to compete in the next WTL. He wants to compete in the next EPT season. Like he is definitely a player worth considering. But I'm sure a lot of that will start happening once the next season is confirmed.
Yeah, once we get more details as to
Yeah.
what the next tournaments are going to be.
Hmm. For sure. Meanwhile, along the line of a player looking for teams, we have Hydra. Hydra also looking for a team as well. He is a Protoss player from the Netherlands, a very active player when it comes to the online tournament scene. Does often play in our Open Cups as well. But you mentioned earlier how a lot of value from a player for teams does reside in their ability to stream, but also on making other content as well. And
Entertaining
it's really
following,
cool to
yeah.
hear, yeah, that Hydra is actually going to be making a YouTube channel.
He is. I mean, or we should say for clarification, going to be committing more to creating
Mhm.
content for his YouTube channel as it already existed, and he has a couple of videos from years gone by. But yeah, he is going to be focusing a lot more on content creation in the upcoming weeks and months. And like you mentioned, he is looking for a team, and that's something very valuable. I haven't been able to catch a lot of these, but they look pretty interesting. A lot of challenges, a lot of campaign challenges, similar to the lines of similar-ish to the lines of something like Giant Grant Games and stuff like that. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he's already gotten quite a nice following over on his YouTube as well. Like he's getting some pretty good viewership considering he hasn't really committed too much. Like you mentioned before, apparently there was some Stormgate alpha videos from 7 months ago, and it was only a couple of weeks ago where he started producing a little bit more frequently, a little bit more consistently. So yeah, best of luck to Hydra for his endeavors on YouTube as well as finding a team. As I mentioned before, especially if his YouTube does kick off, then I'm sure teams are going to be looking at him and looking at his channel and considering supporting him as well.
yeah. So be on the lookout, team owners.
Here you go. And with that, we wrap up on all the roster changes. Nothing else crazy. No one else kind of leaving teams or joining teams. Not yet, at least. And I guess something that's a little bit different here. We spoke
We'll
earlier about
probably get
SC
one
Evo.
update by the end of
True.
by the end of the podcast if the tradition is anything to go off of.
Exactly. SMH. But we have something that has been a long time coming. It's kind of crazy that this wasn't a thing, but Hyper One, a person, a map maker that's very committed and very devoted
Map
to
mode,
SC
yeah.
Evo, did create a Discord dedicated to it.
Yeah, Hyper One, maker of maps, organizer of tournaments, handler of Honmono, are among some of his titles
Yeah.
there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, but as you mentioned, there is now going to be a Discord server for the StarCraft Evolution League, and I just kind of assumed there already was one, if I'm being
Mhm.
honest. I didn't realize that people were kind of using. I think they were using the KSL Discord, funnily
Yep.
enough, to kind of communicate with each other from there, which kind of makes sense. I mean, SE2 Evo is bi-weekly with KSL, but
Mhm.
yeah, now it has its own Discord server, which means that it'll probably be able to have more updates when it comes specifically to the league itself, as well as to the SE Evolution mod.
Yeah, I think it's really important just because, not just that, but also it's a good way to interact with other players that are interested in the mod itself, just because there's no automatic ladder system. So even when it comes to
Yes.
doing custom games and playing the mod as well, even outside of tournaments, just to practice and
Yep.
just to improve, it is really nice to have a hub full of like-minded individuals and like-minded players.
Yeah. Something that allows you to avoid in-game general chat
Yes,
as
which
much
is always
as
a good thing.
possible. Yes.
Exactly. Uh-huh. So if you're interested in the SC Evolution League or SC Evo, then do consider joining the Discord server, and I'm sure there are plenty of people there that are willing to help you out. I'm sure they're willing to post their own builds as well, build guides, and just build up their community from there.
Yeah. Link will be in the chat, I imagine. Right? Link will be in the chat, I imagine. And yeah, what Light said. Join it if you're interested in the SE Evolution mod, as well as the league itself. A hub for other like-minded individuals.
For sure. Meanwhile, we do have signups now open for the InfoLet Pro League. If you're curious, what is the InfoLet Pro League? We have actually casted some InfoLet events here on the channel. It is a Polish sponsor and a Polish tournament organizer for Polish-only events. And it looks like they're hosting their own. I'm a little bit confused here. Is this
I
an
can clarify
individual
for you.
league,
I
or
can,
is
I
this
can
a
translate
team
for you.
league?
I
So
can
here's
translate for
No,
you.
no, 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 no.
I can translate for you.
That's okay. Yeah,
I-
it's
I
okay.
can
Yeah,
translate
it's
for
okay.
you.
It's okay. It's okay. You can rest your voice.
Yaku. No, stop. Don't go there.
Well, it says at the top here only for Polish players.
Yes.
Ah,
So you're welcome for that
thank you for the
translation.
thank you for the translation.
you.
Thank
Yes, thank you. But
Take it
to
away.
actually summarize what is going on here, so this is a team league. This is an Evo Pro League is a team league, but the way it works is not that the teams sign up for the tournament; it's the players sign up for tournament, and then based on ranking, they are I don't remember. Hold
you.
on.
Seated.
Yeah, they are seated. But hold
Drafted.
on, I'm just checking. What is the ranking? But anyway, like
Okay,
you can
MMR.
read the exact details on the doc. But basically, like based on ranking, they pick
Can
the
we?
captains for the teams, and then the captains do a draft and pick their players from among the people who signed up.
Oh. Okay. Interesting. It's very Spicy
like it.
League-esque.
Yes.
NA Spicy League, I should say.
Spicy League, yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
an
which was-
important note is that players who can sign up can be up to 6k MMR, and if somebody is above that limit, they can play, but they have to off race.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess.
so
I guess that's decent. I mean that works out because I do know that there are cases in the past where some people might be just on the border of 6k or something like that, but then because they practice more during the league, they end up going a little bit above that. And yeah, sometimes there's leeway, sometimes there isn't. So this is an interesting choice, like an interesting compromise that they're making here.
Yeah, it's interesting because it does kind of cap certain things, and it means that ideally the competitive spirit is a little bit closer between some of these players, where you would have like these big juggernauts like Geralt or Christiana or Mana or a Laser or Spirit. If they get involved in this, they will most likely all have to off race, and even then they have to make sure that their off race isn't 6k either. So
Yeah.
that's another
So they
thing to
can't
bear in
practice
mind.
too much on their off race either. Yeah.
I also have one
So,
more fun fact about the way this tournament works. So the captains are picked, I assume, by the organizer. However, the order in which they pick players in the draft is based off who the placing they get from an FFA show match.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
My one hope,
This is
I don't think it's gonna.
Spicy League.
Yeah, I was gonna say my one hope here. For those who are curious, what Spicy League is, it was basically like this event, but for the NA region. It was regional to the Americas. I think Latin America was included as well,
Yeah,
or
Latin
maybe
America
just
and
NA.
NA. Well,
And
Latin America and NA, but somehow it ended up being more populated by North American players rather than
Yeah.
Latin Americans. There were a couple.
And similarly, they did have their team captains. They had a draft. But the best part about it, about the entire team league,
names.
is that the draft was actually held on stream. They recorded the
Yes,
draft
I
and
remember
they
that.
recorded the entire process. There was a lot of banter going on, you know, with who would pick who and who was picked last and all this stuff. So it would be a lot of fun to make that happen. I don't know if it will for this, but you know, just saying,
Wait.
it would be a lot of fun.
Did Chappie play in the Spicy League? I vaguely remember that.
Oh, I
It was
think he did
America's
actually.
And it was America's and ANZ, if I remember correctly.
Maybe there was an
America's and
exception for
C.
Chappie. I don't know. But
Maybe.
I remember Chappie
They
playing in
struggled
something.
finding a final player, so they were like, "All right, who's available? Chappie. All right, let's get him in." You just have to. If they ask you, just say you're American.
Was
Don't
able to
reveal
slip
your
in
accent.
somehow.
Don't call it Macca's. It's Mickey D's.
Oh god. So we'll see what happens. Regardless, signups are open for the Infinite
Yeah.
Pro League.
Keep-
Again, it is
keep-
for Polish players only.
Yeah, Polish players under 6k MMR, but keep in mind, Dzień startem koliki 12/10/2024. So if you want to
True.
sign up, you got to do it fast.
Exactly. Before the 12th of October.
I think that's what it says anyway.
Yeah, I'm assuming that says 12th of October and not 10th of December.
It
But
is
Well, they're
12th
Polish,
of
they're not
October.
American,
We
so
are Polish.
yeah,
We
okay.
know how to
yeah,
write
okay.
dates. But also,
good,
the
that's
12th
good.
October is the date of the FFA. I'm not exactly sure when the sign-ups end, to be fair.
Okay, 2 more days. 2 more days. Otherwise, it says there registrations close October 11th, so 1 more day.
Ah,
There you go.
yes,
Uh,
Zapiti Jostene Jamkine 11 Pajminika Ogajne 23:59 p.m.
Yaku, thank you for being our trans. You know, without you, Yaku, we'd be lost. We wouldn't even know what this event
Yeah,
was about. So I appreciate your translations. I appreciate it. Thank you, Yaku. Thank
that's for the
you. Uh,
Polish players out there.
Oh, yeah, here's also a
Meanwhile,
fun fact. The captain of the winning team will receive a trophy. So there you go.
Ooh.
there you go. When it comes to coverage, I'm sure it's going to be cast in Polish. We might be tempted to cover it ourselves here on the CranKy Ducklings in English. We'll see though, just because I'm sure
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of matches happening at once, and
I
uh,
doubt it's gonna be live though. If it's a mixed amateur and pro event, I would imagine that they would cast it via replays.
true, that's also possible. So we'll see what happens. We might get involved, we might not. Regardless, it is really cool to see a bit of a more fun kind of team league that is going to be starting up. Meanwhile, we have the results coming in here. If you recall, last week we did host this
Yes.
podcast just before the DreamHack Atlanta BYOC, and it did take place, and we have our champion.
Indeed, we do. We have a rather fitting champion, I would say. A player who I'm not familiar with, but has a great name, the best name, I would say, for a bring your own PC or bring your own computer event. Awesome Sauce! American
Yeah.
Protoss player coming in as the champion, taking out Fear Dragon, old mate Ravi, in the grand finals.
Yeah, Awesome Sauce, he's been a part of the community for a very long time. I remember he was a big part of Root Gaming. When I say a big part, I'm not meaning like as a player, but like as someone working behind
An
the
organizer,
scenes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Admin.
yeah. So Awesome Sauce has been around the NA region for a very long time. It was really cool to see that he had gone to the event. Shout out to Ravi, aka Fear Dragon, for going to the event as well, and
Yeah,
for
flying
coming in
down.
second place, flying down. Exactly.
He actually managed to break even for his accommodations and flight. So
Beautiful.
beautiful. That's all that was his main motivation, I believe, going into this tournament. It's like, all right, got to make it worth it. If I win, that's great, but at least I got to pay for I got to make sure that I don't have to use my own money for this trip.
We also have confirmation for those who are curious that Fear Dragon did indeed cannon rush every single game. So
There we go.
cannon rush every
A
single game.
little disappointed to hear that means that he didn't break out DTs, but you know what?
I mean,
I'll take it.
if the cannon rush was
but-
only semi-successful, maybe we got to DTs. It's possible. It's possible.
Possible. Possible. He
but
said
it was also
he cannon rushed every game. He didn't say it always worked.
true.
Or he didn't
true.
say that was the only thing he did.
Mhm.
Oh no,
But,
he did say cannon rush only. Never mind.
Yeah, but like they could have gone further. But when it comes to the event itself, it is a little bit sad to see that there wasn't a lot of representation or there wasn't a lot of signups. We mentioned at the time,
Yeah.
and maybe we were a little bit too late to help promote it. But it looks like not many, if any, pros or semi-pros from the NA region did actually travel to Atlanta. I mean, it was also one of those things where,
Well-
if you recall, the BYOC was announced very late, so it was
Yep.
very short notice
It-
for players to actually book flights or anything like that.
Yeah, it was very short notice, and it it wasn't attached to a pro event, which was
Mhm.
the case last year, which was how we had players like Dolan and players like a lot of other pros who played in the first stages of the DreamHack event, but got knocked out, then decided to stick around and then play in the BYOC event, and ended up doing pretty well. So yeah, it was very short notice, which meant that it was difficult to arrange something. For a lot of our players, it was difficult to arrange something, and then also because there wasn't a main event attached to it. Well, I mean, it ties into that, right? Because they would definitely go into the main event anyway, so they would have been around for the BYOC as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a little bit unfortunate that that was the case of that short, kind of announcement. But regardless, congratulations to Awesome Source and Fear Dragon. Again, it's so cool that they were there and
And
that there were
Neighborhood
others
Noob
involved as
and
well.
Chloe.
Mhm.
By the looks of things, those are the ones who showed up here on the Wikipedia bracket.
Yeah, yeah. We had our 4 players, so really cool to see that they were a part of it. Congratulations to Awesome Source and Fear Dragon. Moving on, we do have the Sea Duckling Open. It was our amateur event. This is our
Yeah.
monthly bronze to diamond tournament that we do host on a regular basis.
Yep. I have a story to go with this slate. So
Go ahead.
last week I was recovering from a stomach flu. By Friday, I was feeling better. I had basically recovered by Friday. And so I actually laddered on Friday. I was short a handful of ladder games to make
Mhm.
myself eligible for the Sea Duckling Open on Saturday. I laddered in those. I actually did pretty well. I sent you a replay light where I was like, Milk would be proud of me this game because I did something good. I was
Mhm.
like, all right, I'm eligible. I'm feeling good. I'm going to play in Sea Duckling Open tomorrow. And then I woke up an hour after the event started because I forgot to set the alarm.
No.
And I've been a DGen because I've been sleeping all day while I was sick. And my sleep,
Fair
or
enough.
rather, I should say, my sleep schedule became DGen because I was sleeping all day while I was sick.
Yeah. I mean, you have a good excuse. You were under the weather leading up to it, so it's understandable. But maybe next time, Yaku.
Yeah. Maybe the
As it was,
Masters one open. It's gonna
yeah,
be
yeah.
next week, maybe. Yeah.
True. MSO is around the corner as well. For this event, we had some newcomers. I always have a lot of love for NA players that do sign up as well. This event is at like 4, 5, 6 a.m. in the morning, depending on where you are in the US. So we had someone even from Canada. We had a lot of nice representation. The finals was a lot of fun as well. Went all the way to the ace match between Samir Duran and Holo Ghost. So it was a clutch finals, which we always do appreciate. No kind of one-sided series or anything like that. And yeah, it was just really cool to see people tune in or compete for the first time.
Yeah. At least in our events, a lot of them. It's really cool seeing players compete the first time, and then as the weeks go by, they end up becoming a little bit more familiar to us here coming out. I mean, Samir Duran, who it was this week's champion. I mean, it was just a couple of weeks ago when I was like, who is this guy? I don't know who he is. Similar with Captain Fish and Lochka, a couple of other players who I wasn't familiar with when they first signed up, and yeah, now I am.
For sure. With that, of course, this is a monthly tournament, so every single month we do host another SDO. Still going to be, another good amount of weeks until the next one. But as Yaku just mentioned, we do have MSO right around the corner.
Yeah, just next week, as a matter of fact. So I'm gonna try to set an alarm and wake up in time for that. See how well it goes.
Exactly. So if you're out there, if you're a more amateur player, then you can consider, or then you should consider signing up for either SDO or Master Swan Open as well. Otherwise, we do have, speaking of more amateur events, we have the FSL, the Family Star League. The rounds are continuing. I think last time we only had week 1 kind of results coming in, but now we have week 2 and week 3.
Indeed, we do. They're slowly trickling in. I mean, it is understandable. It's an amateur team league. Matches can take a while to schedule. It can take a little while to get some free time where both players are available. But yeah, we're getting into week 3, and this was actually the debut of Mr. KJ Freedom himself.
Let's go. Exactly. So really cool to see that KJ, of course, he's jumping in as well. If you're curious about this episode, about this team league, then check it out over on the Sidestorm YouTube channel. They have been streaming it over on YouTube, so the VODs are all available. I believe they're linked. They're linked on the Wikipedia as well. So because of that, it isn't just that they're playing out their matches, but they even have like voice chats, like video call discussions, like coming into it, and they talk about the matches as well, and they all come together. So yeah, it's wholesome, wholesome.
Yeah, it's wholesome, almost as if it's for family.
It is for family. Aye. So yeah, do consider checking out the Storm YouTube channel for the not just the VODs of this event, but even the VODs of previous seasons of FSL as well. It's basically just purely FSL on the channel, so plenty of content there to go over, especially in seasons past.
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah, slowly going to be continuing, and I'm sure we'll have updates for you in the next episode of the PondCast.
Yeah, cheesy nachos, they're struggling. I hope they can bring it back.
Yeah. They are struggling, but they're not doing too well, too badly when it comes to the map scores. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's mostly the 2v2s that they're losing out on.
True. They need to grind that 2v2 to bring it back. So wish them the best. I'd like to see Cheesy Nachos perform a little bit better, but we'll see. It's still the early rounds.
They won't be playing next week, so they have a little bit of extra time to prepare. It's going to be the Raiders going up against Angry Space Hares. And then after that, Cheesy Nachos are playing again.
We'll find out what happens next week in PondCast. Meanwhile, now we have more of our regular pro events. We are going to be jumping into the OSC King of the Hill this week. I believe it was casted by, was it Chicken Man? No, it looks like Steadfast once again. I know Chicken Man was covering some OSC midseason playoffs this week, but for the OSC King of the Hill, we had Jimmy having a bit of a win streak himself, actually winning the most amount of matches here tonight.
Yeah, winning the most amount of matches, and I would say the longest. I was gonna say the longest streak, but that's literally the same thing as winning the most amount of matches. So that's what it means. Yeah. So, but what I mean by that is he was the only one I would say with a particularly noteworthy streak going on here, and I believe his first pro or competitive event since joining Streamer Zone as well. So. That's a good omen. He took out Wayne, he took out Mio Micah, he took out UED Soldier, Demi, and then finally fell to Nicoract, but no one else was really able to get more than... Let me see if I got the math right. Yeah, get more than 2 wins in a row here.
Yeah, I do recommend tuning into the VODs just because Jimmy is a really interesting player. He's very creative. He can be quite cheesy at times, quite all in, but also really aggressive and just really unpredictable as well. I'll be honest, looking at the initial 2 starting players, Wayne versus Geralt, I assumed that Wayne would go on a tear and go on his own win streak, but no, Jimmy had other plans, and yeah, he did very well for himself here. There are some players that I'm not familiar with. I'm not familiar with Scandicane.
Scandicane.
Yeah,
Candy cane, but from Scandinavia.
Yeah,
the Scandinavian region of Germany.
A German Protoss player that I have not seen before, so maybe more of an up-and-coming amateur player. I'm curious if we get to see more of him in the future.
Yeah, playing on Platinum Heroes, or at the very least on the Platinum Heroes community, which is always a good sign. If a player is active on Platinum Heroes, it's usually a good sign that you're going to be seeing them in a lot more events.
Yeah, so I look forward to it. Definitely, that's what caught my eye, at least immediately, is a name that I just hadn't seen before. Outside of that, of course...
You can tell I've been playing way too much Heroes because immediately I read it as Decker Kane.
Wait, is he a player in Heroes? Is that a thing?
Decker Kane? He's my new main in Heroes.
What?
He reminds me of Steel. Decker Kane, the Diablo guy.
Is he like a new character?
Like, stay a while. He was one of the last characters that they added before going on maintenance mode. So
I didn't even know he was
kind of a new character. Yeah, he's in there. Okay. He looks and sounds exactly like Steel Mold, our very own CranKy Duckling. So he's my new main.
How does he attack people? Does he like?
He whacks him with a stick.
is he a melee based unit?
Potion. He's a melee healer, so he throws potions at allies.
He's actually melee? No shot.
He is melee. He's melee, but he doesn't do any damage. So
is his ults funny. Like he's got to have the
his
Heraldric Cube, right?
His Heraldric Cube is his W, which which depending on how you build it has different effects. But I swear he has 2 ults, as most heroes do. But the best ult is called "Stay a while and listen," and literally he bores enemies to sleep in front of him.
No,
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. That is his ult, and that's also why he's my new main.
This sounds like a joke.
He's my new favorite hero.
I love it. Oh my god.
That's the alt I always pick.
Yeah, he's after my time. I see here he released in 2018. I think I stopped playing like in 2015 or 2016 or something. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's that.
That
I mean, that's a
Kur-
fun way to approach the character. Not
yeah.
bad.
Kuro is pointing out that I'm literally playing as myself, not Steel, when playing Deckard Cain, and you know what?
True.
That makes sense because Deckard, his weapon is his walking stick.
Mhm. There you go.
He walks with the walking stick, and then he whacks
God.
people with it when he attacks.
Wait, what's his second ult? If his first one is putting people to sleep with the story, what's the second one?
Oh, his second ult is called Lornado, and he just throws a book that turns into a tornado.
That sounds amazing.
Which is a reference to a Diablo 3 April Fool's joke that they had, but
Okay.
I like boring people to sleep better.
Okay. Fair enough. That's wild. I had no idea that he was in the game. But yeah. So speaking of Deckard Cain, Skander Cain,
Yes,
he
Skander
made his
Cain
debut.
from Germany. He also has a book that he throws at people.
Exactly. It's his signature move.
Yes.
Whips out the book. Beautiful. But a shout out to Björn for being the final champion. Looks like he didn't tune in, or he didn't make an appearance until the very end of the event, which is interesting to me just because I know these events usually begin quite late in Korea. So for Björn to be there at the very end,
Well, you say that, but
exactly,
we know we know what Björn is. We all do. He may have woken up early to climb a mountain last week, but deep down inside, he's a degen.
He's fixing his sleep schedule. You know, after touching grass, he has to rectify that. Yes.
Exactly.
So shout out to Björn. Björn, as again, he will have the option to be next week's defending OC King of the Hill. If he accepts it, he can of course be the starting player. Otherwise, we might have some different starting players instead. So we'll keep an eye out for that. We could see some more Björn in the next OC King of the Hill. Otherwise, yeah, check out Steadfast's channel for the VODs.
Yeah. It looks very dynamic just looking at the results. I haven't seen the games themselves, but yeah, just looking at how the crown changed hands so often this week is it looks very volatile and very something that no doubt means it's very volatile and exciting is what I would say.
Also, before I forget, there is something else that just caught my eye, and I can't believe it. I mean, at this point, it's normal enough that we don't even notice it.
I did not. Like... I saw it and I didn't bat an eye. Like,
and if you're in the chat, you should have noticed as well. Eva played Protoss because, of course, he did.
I did. That's his main. Yeah.
Yeah, it is his main. There you go.
That's his main race.
SMH. Fun fact, by the way, this coincides with it. Eba actually left me a message this morning, and he was asking for Protoss replays. He's like, Pappy, I need some PvP replays. I'm like,
I'd send him. Okay. I was gonna say send him this replay against Mixu.
Oh no.
but he specified PvP, so I'm not sure if we can help him out there.
So
I mean, we could send him one of the millions or one of the thousands of Christiana versus Geralt games that we have.
Yeah.
That we've casted.
I have to respond like, mate, just sub to the channel, and bam, you got plenty of PvP right there. The STC is
the pitch. Which, you know what, you too can sub to the channel. Only no, I think Twitch changed their prices recently, so it's no longer $4.99 USD, but. You know what? Around that area, you too can sub to the Twitch channel, gain access to the replays, the emotes, or if you are so inclined, Patreon. That's where we still do have a 5 USD option.
There you go.
Where you can also get access to the replays.
If you want to learn some PvP, then mate, we got you plenty of PvP replays. We got so many. It's crazy. So much PvP in STC. We'll get there as well when it comes to this week's results.
Cup,
yeah. But shout out to Björn, and again, of course, Eba playing Protoss, and it sounds like this might be more of a trend again. What I was gonna say is that Eba, he recently he went cold turkey. He came back to us. He was maining Zerg again for a while, but it looks like it was only a moment, only a brief reprieve from that. And
it was a phase, a youthful phase, if you will.
He's smudging again.
Oh, we can tell.
Otherwise, we will be heading on over here to the OC mid-season playoffs, and we have been passing the torch. We started casting it initially for the first couple of weeks, then did go over to Just Jordan, then to Wardy, then to Steadfast, and this week it was Chicken Man. Chicken Man, he was able to host the continuation of the OC mid-season playoffs, and I feel like we have a lot to go over.
Quite a bit. Not all of it has. Wait. No, it's the same. Okay, I thought that it hasn't been up. That there were some matches not updated in Liquipedia, but that's more of just because of how the unfinished bracket looks like. Yeah, so if you look at Liquipedia, it's the same as it is on Challenge. Do not fret at all. I panicked a little bit when I looked at the two different brackets at the start here, but yeah, it's all updated here on Liquipedia, and quite a few matches to go over.
Yeah, so this week was the upper bracket quarterfinals. So we had MaxPax taking down Shin 2-0. MaxPax, he gets his revenge. As a reminder, it was a couple of weeks ago where Shin was able to actually defeat MaxPax in the Wardy TV Monday. So there was a crazy upset there. It was last week we had Rex defeating MaxPax as well. So I was like, yo, is he now is he upset? Has he been broken? What's going on here? But MaxPax, he does get his revenge, does advance on the face off against Nightmare in the upper bracket semifinals. Nightmare takes down Cristiano. Cristiano has been looking strong as of late, but in this best of 3, he does fall to Nightmare.
He does, which we can't really hold it against him there. I mean, Nightmare, maybe he's not as a dominating force as he was in the past in the PvP matchup, but again, historically and even to this day, I believe that's still his best matchup. Still his best matchup, and he's still absolutely one of the better PvP players by a mile. Nightmare versus MaxPax, we caught a little bit of a glimpse of that. A couple of matches between the two of them in previous weeklies, but now that we're starting to venture into the best of 5s, this is going to be very spicy.
Oh yeah, especially considering, I'm sure a big factor as to why Nightmare did so well. Hey, new team buff, right? He just joined a new team. I'm sure he's on Cloud 9. I'm sure he's motivated to do well, to improve.
Gumiho's on Cloud 9.
He's true. He is on Cloud 9.
It's been your regularly fact-checking service coming in here.
There you go. As a Nightmare, he is going to be facing up against MaxPax next week, as you did mention. Björn takes on Geralt. Björn is one of the heavy favorites to take the entire tournament, so he has been able to make his way through. He actually toured Geralt, but he did drop a map to Mana, as Mana was able to take down Cham, but did fall to Björn.
Indeed, I'm kind of surprised that we already are getting semifinals on the way, but again, if they do have the option, I believe, to play it and send in the replays, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that was what went on here between Björn and Mana. They just were free already, so they scheduled it amongst themselves and updated it, and I believe it has been casted. Yeah, I believe Chicken Man already casted it, so yeah, there we go.
Yeah, as a producer note, if the result is on the bracket, then it has been casted, because the replays, I believe, are sent to Eddie, and then he's sending the replays to the casters.
True, and Eddie's the one updating the Wikipedia page.
And so with that, Björn does advance on to the upper bracket finals. He's waiting for the winner of MaxPax and Nightmare. Scrolling down, we did have some lower bracket matches concluding as well, and we were praising for Jimmy for how well he did in the OC King of the Hill, but for Jimmy is one of the first to be knocked out of the tournament.
Yeah, by Spats, or Spats. Not to be confused with Stats. It's a little bit of an upside going on there for Jimmy coming into this. I mean, he was one of the favorites, I would say. Somebody who we expected to make a pretty deep run in the lower bracket semis, but Spats, he had other ideas. Came in here, got the 3-1, so yeah, fairly dominant showing by him, and now with that out of the way, it honestly looks like he has a pretty good, decent bracket up in front of him. Mindle VK did take out Mio Micah 3-1, and so he is going to be facing off Spats in the next round. And the way I see him, it's possible I'm underrating Mindle VK a little bit, but the way I see it is, if you can take out Forjumi, you can take out Mindle VK.
Yeah, like this is a really interesting result. Like I have such a hard time reading like the state of spats because if this was a score that we saw last year at this time last year, I'd be like, yeah, of course, 100%. Like spats, he's on fire. Spats, he's doing really well for himself. He's been winning a lot of online tournaments. But this year, Spats has been less active. He's been less active. He hasn't been playing in as many tournaments. He hasn't been competing as much for whatever reason, whether he's focusing on studies or focusing on other aspects. It's just yeah, we've seen less and less of Spats over time these past couple of months. So yeah, coming into this because of that, I was favoring for Jumi, but clearly, despite the inactivity that Spats has had, he's still still a terrifying player and is still a force to be reckoned with. So impressive result here by Spats, very impressive. I do think that his best matchup is PvP, so I think that he's got a pretty good chance to make a deep run here. But I don't want to count Cham out. Cham may have gone down to mana, but Cham is an animal, so he can always cause an upset.
In the truest sense of the word, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was kind of hoping for the Cham Mio Micah rematch going on there, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, it will not come to pass. So either Spats or Mindle VK will be going up against Cham, and yeah, that's another one that's tough to predict. As you said, Cham, he is a wild card. He is an animal coming
Mhm.
into this. He's like the luchador in WWE, just jumping in with a steel chair at the most random moments.
Exactly. You don't know when he's coming, and when he does, I mean, then you know. Then
Yeah,
you'll find out.
yeah,
Uh,
you'll know it before he does.
Exactly. So I do look forward to those eventual matches. Likewise, Nikish took down Homono 3-0. I was looking forward to
Yeah,
that.
the
Homono likewise has a unique way of approaching some of these matchups, but Homono he thrives against Protoss more so than anything. So it was
yeah.
unfortunate he did not face off against one of these many Protoss players.
Yeah, I would say the result here isn't that surprising to me, but the score definitely is what I would say. But now that you mention it, yeah, historically TVZ has been his weakest matchup, so maybe it shouldn't be have been that much of a surprise that it was a sweep.
Yeah, I mean, Nikic has been improving. Nikic has been
Yeah,
looking really good as of late, so it's really cool to see him just get better and better
especially
results in these tournaments.
yeah, especially in ZVT. You know, he's been playing he's been matched up against Nikorak a
Mhm,
lot of a lot of times in these past couple of weeks, and
mhm,
you know, when you're up against one of, if not the best TVZ players in the CIS region,
mhm.
that's gonna do wonders for your own improvement as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was referring earlier about how like we just haven't seen a lot of spats, so it's really hard to place him. I mean, that the proof is here, like in the PondCast, right, where we go over week
Yeah,
after week after week all these online tournament results, and the names that we see, especially for these European tournaments, constantly is players like Geralt, players like Cristiano, Nicarak, Nikic, Shameless as well. Like a lot of these guys, they play in everything. Spats, I don't think he's been in a bracket for quite some time. Like
yeah,
because that's kind of hard to get a read on them because Nikic has been playing so much. Again, we've seen like his improvement. We've seen how consistent he is, and because of that, he might even have a deeper run himself. I say that there's a lot of really interesting upcoming matches. Quickly going over
I
them, we have Nick Racked Art, Spirit DNS, and many others.
yeah, I would have to echo your statements there. I think that there's definitely potential here for Nikic to make a deep run, but looking at the players that remain, I do think that
Mhm.
the lower half of the losers rounds is a little bit tougher than the upper
Yeah,
half of it. Like
yeah.
I'm looking at the upper half, and the big names that really, of the players remaining, the big names that really stick out to me are Gerald, Nicoract, and Spirit. I want to say DNS, but
Mhm.
he is inconsistent.
Welcome to the part of the show where we lose Yaku.
Yeah,
That happened
yeah.
last time as
Unfortunately,
well.
it's yeah,
Okay,
it's
let's
all
reset.
good. Yeah, it's all good. We'll switch our servers and hopefully we can get Yako back in here. Um, oh, can you speak? Are you back, Yako? Are you back? Oh, never mind. Kira, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't hear Yaku. Yaku is gone.
Okay, did you change the Twitch server? Sorry, the Discord server?
Oh, no. Hold on.
Oh,
There we go. Beautiful.
and I could
Yeah.
still hear you when you asked me.
It's all good. You're back. You're back. So what were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying that the upper half of the lower. That sounds really weird to say. The upper half of the lower bracket uh, doesn't have as many like terrifying names to me. Just kind of looking at it compared to the lower half of the lower bracket. And the
Mhm.
big names in the upper half, I would say, would be Spirit, Nicoract, and Gerald. Other ones that are really at the kind of the top tier. DNS Art, I would say, are just outside of that tier. I mean, still great players in their own right, but not really heavy favorites looking at that. Meanwhile, look at the lower bracket. We got Shin, you got Christianer, you got Wayne, you got Skillus, you got Mana, who, I mean, just the quantity of favorites in the lower half
Mhm.
are higher than the upper half, and part of that is because a couple of our matches have already been played out in that upper half, but even still, it's I would say that the lower half is a little bit tougher.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like it's crazy seeing Skillus and DRG. One of them will be knocked out. They're going to be
Yeah.
knocking each other out in the first round. That's going to lead into Wayne. That's going to lead or Moja, of course. I mean, Wayne is going to be one of the
Right.
heavy favorites. We have Cristiano down the line as well, as you mentioned. Shin, Nikic, Shameless, Young Yakov. Some really, really like solid players, and any one of them can make a deeper and deeper run here as well. So I do recommend checking out the VODs or checking out the stream whenever this is streamed. I believe it should be next week. I believe next week should be the rest of the lower bracket round one. So whether it's on our channel, on Wardy's, on Chicken Man's, on Steadfast, or even another caster, I do recommend.
Yeah. Lower bracket round one, the rest of the lower bracket round one, and I believe the semifinals are what's planned for next week.
Oh yeah. So that's going to be the rest of the OSC midseason playoffs, and then we can jump into some of the other regular online events. Up next, we have the Code for Giants Cup. This was yesterday. This is, of course, the bi-weekly Brazilian-only tournament, but this was an interesting one because we were missing some of our heavy favorites. When it comes to the Brazilian scene, when it comes to at least these regular tournaments, Eric and Shakti are usually there to have their way in the finals, but neither one was there this time.
Yeah, we were missing a lot of our heavy favorites. In fact, we were missing so many favorites that in the notable participants tab on Liquipedia, no Zerg. No Zerg players over there. There were some Zerg players signing up for this, but yeah, players who aren't really particularly notable, I would say. More of the amateur players.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we had some strong names, don't get me wrong. What I will say coming into this tournament is I expected it to be a finals between Master and Inexorable. They are the top two, I would say, which is why I was pleasantly surprised to see Yan pop off. Yan, he took some time off. If you recall, Yanchi, he was a strong competitor in the Latin American scene many years ago. Then he kind of slipped away. He took a break. Now he's back, and for him to 2-0 Master, that is very impressive.
Without a doubt, 2-0's Master, and then takes a map of Inexorable in the grand final. Soulmate Oliveira, he does it again.
Oliveira, he does it. He's crazy. Does it again, Pap. He does it again. So congratulations to Inexorable for claiming it. Again, I think I would have even favored Master against Inexorable, but Yan had a really good performance in those semifinals. Do recommend the VODs there. Likewise, had a really fun series against Dorminoko as well in the quarterfinals. Dorminoko, he's a more up-and-coming Zerg player.
Domino?
Has been...
Am I
Yeah,
blind? Is
Domino.
that an R?
Yeah, that's an R, yeah.
I missed that entirely the first time.
What'd you think? What do you
Until
think
you
it was
said it,
called?
I thought it was just Dominoko.
You thought it was dumb?
Yeah, I thought it was
family?
dumb. I thought it was family. Yeah, I thought it was just Dominoko. But then you said Dominoko, and I was like, wait. I had to do a double take there.
Aye. But that translates to sleepy. Sleepy in
In Brazilian.
Portuguese. Yeah. So Yeah, it was a really fun tournament in the end. Yes, there were a lot of TVTs, but a lot of these TVTs were actually a little bit
It was
faster. We
Latin
didn't
American
actually get.
TVT, so
Yeah, exactly. None of these like siege lines, no like long late game or anything like that. A little bit more dynamic, a little bit more intense.
that's always good to hear. It's my preference for TVTs, or at
Oh,
least
yeah.
as a viewer and a
You'd
caster.
appreciate. He lived up to his name, Kamikaze.
Yes,
He
for
was
the boys.
non-stop doom dropping. No, not quite, but
Yes,
he would he would like
good
load
at
up his entire army, go into the main. He'd lose like 3 medevacs on his way in and just die. But it was
love to
great.
see it. Call nuke down onto your own army. Yeah, you love to see it.
So some fun matches as always. Shout out to Cosmos, of course. Cosmos, he is kind of like the wardy of the Brazilian scene, a Brazilian region, and he has been organizing this event. So again, he's supporting, the Brazil as best he can and doing a good job at it.
Yeah,
Doing a
the
good job.
Brazilian wardy.
Yeah. Or Brazilian Loco, or I don't know who the best is. Maybe both at the same time.
Maybe both. Yeah.
But with that, we also have the 3D Clan Community Super Cup as well. If you recall, we had seen that the initial bracket was seeded, but we didn't have the conclusion of the event. We didn't have the entirety of the results, as it did go over the course of the weekend. It was a multi-day event, but it looks like it is wrapped up.
It has, and honestly, like that is. In any other bracket, I would not have been surprised, but looking at this bracket in particular, looking at the participants, and even looking at the progression of this tournament, I gotta say, I'm surprised Young Yakov took it in the end. Not only took it in the end, but took it by beating Wayne in a rematch.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like when we look at, especially this CIS region, we think of Wayne, right? Like Wayne, he's one of the best Zerg players in Europe, one of the best Zerg players in the world. And he's been a little bit quiet as of recently, but I think a lot of us do still consider him a favorite player. That's why it was surprising to see him go down early on. If you remember, Wayne lost to Jumi in OSC King of the Hill that we just went over, which was crazy. So for him to make it to the finals, no big surprise, but for Young Yakov to bring it home in the end, very impressive stuff here by Young Yakov.
Yeah, very
considering he's
stuff.
teamless.
I mean, he is teamless now. Yeah, he is now teamless, and also he beat, I would say, the other favorites in this tournament. He beat Nicorak 2-0 in the upper bracket semis, and then he fell to Wayne in the upper bracket final. But then he beat Shameless, who is no slouch either, and then in the rematch in the grand finals, got his revenge and beat Wayne again. I mean, it's pretty much only Nikic that is the other big name that he didn't face, that he didn't get to face. But yeah, this is a fantastic run from Young Yakov.
Yeah, you can definitely argue that Young Yakov, to win the tournament, he beat the best player of each race in the tournament, right? He beat Wayne, Nickeract, and Shameless. Like, so he was able to do it all in every single matchup. So really impressive stuff here by Young Yakov. Again, Young Yakov, he recently left the Platinum Heroes. He's recently teamless, but clearly is in form. Clearly he is still on top of things, and I'm sure, I mean, I don't think he's properly announced that he's looking for a team, but like clearly he's worth a pickup once the next season of WTO comes around. He's definitely a player to keep an eye on, because this was very strong showing.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yep. KJ, I hear you have an open spot now.
True.
Storm.
True. It's possible. It's possible. I mean, a Zerg player would be quite fitting for Storm, considering they've got Max. They're partnered with Navi for Spirit, so they've got a Terran, they've got a Protoss. So Zerg player could be what they want, could be what they need. Again, potentially.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Definitely, as we are going to be moving on to our next tournament here, and this has become, I believe this is is it a bi-weekly tournament hosted by Take TV?
Yeah, a bit more of a regular online cup, specifically for the German region. It's the Wechsliga StarCraft 2 or StarCraft 2 Community Cup number 6.
There you go. But yeah, this is a bi-weekly tournament that Take TV have been hosting recently, so it's really cool that they're giving back to the community. It's been a while since we've seen a weekly or a regular tournament like this from Take TV, and in the end, it was a finals between For Jumi and No Money. But again, No Money. I feel like we have to change our name here because he did end up earning some money here.
Yeah, he got 30 euros.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what he got when he was at Centex.
Smooch.
Oh man, Smooch. Sad story going on there. You know what?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know what? Since it's recurring, since that was the big news that we started off this week, I'm not sure if she really wants to go into it, but maybe some of these, maybe she could cover some of those big organizers or those big teams that ended up scamming their players in Korea.
Yeah, it would be interesting to, or even just hear from the player's perspective, right? Like from
Yeah.
from No Mercy or No Money and Shark Reaper and all the others. If Zombie ever does, or if she does hit the stretch goal to go to the European region as well. Again, there's a lot of history there, a lot to go over. But congratulations for Jumi as he doesn't drop a single map in the event, and shout out to No Money for making it to those finals. It's great to see No Money being more and more active. For those that are curious, what you were even referring to. Senthex was a more German-based team a couple of years ago, and there were the Senthex boys. They were like the German Terran players. It was Soon, No Money, Shark Reaper, and I think there was another one as well. But they would very often compete in online tournaments. They were very active. Nowadays, I haven't seen Shark Reaper compete in a long time, and Soon started organizing tournaments. So it's a little bit sad to see them fall by the wayside. So at least it's cool to see that No Mercy or now No Money is still competing and still playing in these tournaments.
It's carrying that torch in a way.
Oh yeah. Was Musty also on Sentex?
He wasn't, no, but he did play in last week's the Gabe event.
He did, and he was on he was also a Sentex.
Oh, he was.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah.
my mistake. I blocked that from my memory.
I remember because you actually told me.
I did.
You did.
This is why the GLHF project is more important than ever. While our memories are starting to fail, we gotta archive as much as we can while our memories are still kinda working.
Oh no. But yeah, Musty's still there, which is really cool to see, and congratulations to For Jumi. And again, this is I believe a bi-weekly event that has been hosted quite regularly now for the past 6 renditions. So if you're out there, if you're a little bit more European based, then you can compete in this tournament next time as well. I know that all the players that played this week were German for the most part. I know Musty is living in Germany, but I think last week or last edition there were some Polish players, so I think it's open.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, my assumption was that this would be based off of German residency. Like, if you live in Germany, you can play in it, but apparently not.
No, wait. I was gonna say you might be correct.
Apparently
there
not.
There was only one Polish player in the bracket. It wasn't Cristiano, but yeah, Cristiano, I'm pretty sure has double citizenship.
Yeah, I was about to say Cristiano. He's got dual residency or double
double
citizenship. That I don't think so. He's still playing.
Oh, Geralt.
They
played in 2 weeks ago in the last event. So
yeah, exactly. So it looks like it is open. So hopefully we can get some more representation involved as well. But regardless, congratulations for Jimmy. Congrats.
Yep. That new team buff. He played in it while he was on Streamer Zone. So
true.
Or just after, shortly after joining Streamer Zone. So it's actually my mistake. I said that the King of the Hill was the first thing that For Jumi played on Streamer Zone, but I believe it was actually the Works Liga. Now I'm looking at the dates.
Okay, there you go. So congrats to For Jumi taking another win. Meanwhile, we are heading over to the Chicken King Team League. Let's go. Again, not to be confused with Chicken Man. No affiliation.
Yet. No affiliation yet.
as the regular season round robin stage has been progressing. And we do have both round 1 and round 2 concluding. It's really cool to see some of these teams that we are a little bit more familiar with. We have Starlight Twinkle, we have Little Fairy as well, we have Toho Project, teams that we have casted when it comes to the qualifiers of WTL. We have team, oh my god, wait, we have team Hist. So yeah, a lot of old school players. Even Cloudy was playing. Let's go.
Oh man, that is a name
Wait,
I
no.
haven't heard in a long time.
Sorry, he didn't play, but he's on
He
Hist, so he
He
might.
is
play.
on his, so yeah. He may play soon. TM, fingers crossed. Yeah, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah.
It's also nice to see Young Zest back in here playing for SLT. Young Zest and Jolly Well Loves.
Yeah, there are some of these teams that we expect to go
Also known as
far,
Jay
right?
Young Oz.
Yeah, like Starlight Twinkle and Little Fairy, and Hist as well. They're definitely like these big teams with more notable players. Some of these more lesser known teams, I'm curious to see how they perform. Definitely.
Yeah, and be keeping our eyes out. It does look like there were a couple of forfeits, and by a couple I mean, two matches were almost completely forfeit going on here, which is a little bit of a disappointment, especially in round 2. We have 2 rounds being forfeit by SLT, so yeah, a little bit of unfortunate scheduling by the looks of things.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, especially considering that SLT is one of the more favored teams here. Like they should be coming out of this, in some of the top seeds. So hopefully they can play out the rest of their matches. Again, as this is taking place in the off season of WTL, and week after week they're having 4 matches in a row. So that's a lot of matches.
Yeah, quite a bit with not a whole lot of prep time to go into it, but should be fine. I'm looking at one of these other teams, a newer team to me, one that I'm not too familiar with, PCEC, and I'm scrolling through it, and for some reason, they have Moja listed as an active player.
Oh no. He might have joined them briefly for a WTL qualifier, but I don't think he's on the team.
Joined
So,
date 24/10/08, so I'm assuming that's year, month, day, and not year, day, month. No, wait.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm assuming
Yeah, it's month day.
It's month day, so that was 2 days ago.
Oh, so maybe he found a team.
Maybe he did.
Wait, when was the tweet posted that he was looking for a team? Hold up.
That was posted very recently, from what I remember.
Yeah. The
In
8th of
my
October.
defense, Chinese
In the
teams
same
don't
day.
exactly announce their players.
Exactly. That I was gonna go into that. Chinese teams don't typically announce new pickups and stuff like that, because of course, and when they do, they don't announce it on Twitter because they just can't use Twitter there. So
breaking news: Moja has found a team.
I guess, yeah. I mean, Moja as well hasn't really confirmed it either, has he?
He hasn't made a post.
He hasn't made a post. I mean, that's the assumption we're going with. It's not a bad assumption to go with. It's a fairly safe assumption. It could still be wrong, but congratulations to Moja, I guess, for joining PCEC.
There you go. I mean, it's also possible that he might just be on them just temporarily.
Just for the season,
yeah. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, that is a very recent sign up, and I mean, I think that confirms that he's at least going to be playing for them here in this.
Yeah, at least for the Chicken Team League. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I guess that's also confirmation that at least once every podcast we have to have midway through a podcast we have to have a new announcement there.
Yeah, breaking news. Breaking news.
Breaking
there you
news.
go. It's on the team. Shout out to Moja.
There we go. Yeah.
But PCEC is an interesting one just because I remember them just because they used to have Silky. Silky was on the team for a while, but he recently did leave the team to join Super Kitty, who's another amateur Chinese team. But I don't think Super Kitty actually playing in this league, so yeah, no Silky, unfortunately.
No, they're not. Yeah. Interesting choice there.
Yeah, otherwise that does wrap up the first 2 rounds. Again, it was PCEC getting the walkover over Starlight Twinkle. We had Protoss the Best, winning over their opposing team as well. I hope that all their players are Protoss, by the way, for Team Protoss the Best.
I'm pretty sure they are. Well, they have a couple of Terran players listed as active, but I don't think they've been fielded yet. So
Yeah, we'll make sure that doesn't happen.
yeah.
We'll make
Oh
sure.
no, one of their players rolled random and just so happened to not roll Protoss in their games, but
Mhm. Yeah, and Little Fairy, of course, has Shameless. So, I mean, that's a kind of a big, heavy hitter that's going to be playing for
mhm.
Little Fairy as well. So, we'll see if anyone can pose a threat to them. So far, they're undefeated. And then we can catch up with our next event. We have this is what I was waiting for. We have the Collegiate Star League for from the Chinese region.
Indeed, we do. One of the tournaments has finished up, so we have been able to crown a champion for Stage B. One adventurer, a Terran player, has been able to win the. I believe the way that it works is that Stage B is kind of like a Code A, and then Stage A is kind of like a Code S. So,
Uh huh.
yeah, they seeded it that way based on, MMR, I guess.
Yeah. I believe that's the case as well. But I mean, shout out to Prescribe. If you recall, we were having fun with his name last week, and we were
Yes.
excited to see him go far. And I mean, hey, he made it to the
Yeah.
finals, and he went all the way to the ace match.
Yeah, all the way to the eighth match. Barely didn't win out, but it was a very close series, regardless. I remember I remember we were saying like, oh, he needs to team up with Cure. He needs to 2v2 with Cure. Or something
Exactly.
like that. Yeah.
Prescribe the cure. So congratulations to Prescribe and One Adventurer for getting a second and first place respectively. Stage A, or Code S, or the kind of higher tier event, has yet to begin. Checking the Wikipedia, it looks like they're scheduled to play out their series or their matches on the 19th of October. So just over a week from now is when it is scheduled to at least play out the first round.
Yes. So we can look forward to that. Once again, I don't believe this is going to be streamed anywhere outside of Bilibili, so
Mhm.
that could be a little bit of an issue, but we'll see what we can get done.
Yeah, coming into this, I do pin TATP as the favorite player, but we have, over the course of some of these results that we've been going over, we have seen a lot of like up and coming players like have some crazy performances. So maybe we could see an upset. Maybe we could see an unknown rise up.
I was rooting for Cyril. Not gonna lie, I was rooting for
the,
Cyril here,
the
but
other Cyril.
didn't
Yeah.
quite make it out of the groups, unfortunately.
Protos. Well, what can you do? What can you do?
Protoss, man. Yeah.
True. Speaking of events in China, we have the big Liu Li Cup #2 as well. This was a big event that did take
Yes.
place last week. Wardy was the English commentator that was covering the entirety of the event.
Yes, and oh boy, this is one where there are things to say. So,
Mhm.
shout out to Max Fax, the champion, the winner of this entire tournament. He beat Clem in the upper bracket finals, but unlike what we predicted, he didn't face Clem in a rematch in the grand finals. No. He faced one of the more unlikely players, in my opinion, to make it to the grand finals. Rogue came back swinging. He came back with his bag of tricks, and oh man, Rogue versus Clem was. I remember watching that light. I didn't watch it live. Pig released a video on it on his channel somewhere. The VOD is also available on Morty's channel, but I remember watching that, and I remember thinking, I hate him so much. Rogue came in with a brand new strategy, a Changeling Nidus strategy that just, my mouth was agape. I was like, if Clem doesn't know how to figure this, I don't know how to deal with this. Clem doesn't know how to deal with this. How do you deal with this? This is, oh.
Yeah, I did hear about it. It's something that I do have to watch myself as well, but I did hear murmurings of Clem versus Rogue and how insane Rogue was in this tournament. I mean, again, Rogue is, recently we've been praising Trap, right? Recently we have been praising a lot of Trap because he has been more active. Rogue has not, but they both did return from the military at the same time, or at around the same time, within a couple of weeks of each other.
Yeah,
and they have both been improving, and we've been casting Rogue, and he's been looking really good. But again, we haven't been casting too much of him. So he came in as a dark horse in this event, and it's crazy how well he was able to perform.
I think we were kind of mentioning something along the lines of the rate of improvement between Trap and Rogue has been immense.
Mhm.
Will it won't be too long before they're back on that kind of top tier level, but it's still going to take a while. I think I at least was kind of expecting Trap to hit that level first, but
Mhm.
I mean, Rogue once again comes in and he goes to show that, class is permanent. He
Exactly.
was at the top of the game for quite some time before he entered the military, and so now it's only been a couple of months, and he's not quite back there, but he's beating players who are on that level again. Beating Clem, beating Shin, beating Dark, beating Oliveira. That is, I mean, it proves that Rogue is one of the best at what he
Yeah.
does.
Exactly. I mean, it was last week where we were praising Trap because he came second in the Wardy TV Festival, and then this week we have Rogue coming in second here in the big Leo Cup as well. So really impressive performances. This is a greater achievement for Rogue just because, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
he was able to bring down Clem and Shin and Dark, and just there's just so many more big names here as this was a bigger event and a bigger tournament. So very impressive result here by Rogue. And again, it's important that you point out as well that, I mean, I think we were all expecting Clem to have a rematch against MaxPax in the finals, but Rogue came in with a more creative, a more unorthodox style that really
Yeah.
caught Clem off guard. That is something that we have seen recently. The right, like we also saw
Mhm.
Shin defeat Clem recently as well in the ZVT matchup. Just again, just catching him off guard. It does feel like he can be vulnerable at
Yeah.
times in that matchup, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, we are talking about Shin as well, but let's not forget Raynor. Raynor was
Mhm.
back in the WTL. Raynor was able to get Basilisk into the grand finals, in pretty much lead Basilisk to victory that season because
Mhm.
he was Clem's kryptonite, and he did so by not relying not by relying completely on his mechanics, the same way a player like Serral or Dark may try to, but instead by trying to catch him off guard and just hitting at his weak spots, hitting at his blind spots. So Clem,
Mhm.
mechanically a fantastic player. I mean, I would have to agree with Serral's evaluation of Clem that on a good day, Clem is absolutely unstoppable. But that's why you can't. That's why you can't try to just be faster or be more precise or anything like that. You have to
Mhm.
outthink him. As a very wise Terran player once
Uh,
said, don't Terran relies on not using your brain too much. So if you
there you
can
go.
try to find a way to outfox your Terran opponents, I mean Rogue, Raynor, Shin, they've all proved that even the best mechanical Terran players can fall to a more cunning strategy.
Definitely, and this is a really big and important win for Max Pax as well because
Yes, I was gonna go into
um,
that.
yeah, leading into this, I remember that Max Pax has also been showing some weakness as of late when it comes to
Well,
fooling some of these players in online tournaments.
it
But this is where Max Pax can really shine because
he
for
redeems
the
himself.
majority of the year, he's not traveling, he's not playing in these offline events. It's these big online events where Max Pax can start to shine, where he can start to really go up against, the best players in the world.
Yeah, I recall it was just last week that we were kind of mentioning that, Max Pax and Clem for the first half of 2024 had a little bit of a rivalry going on. It
Hmm.
was a bit more back and forth, but ever since the Esports World Cup, Clem has
Hmm.
kind of had Max Pax's number. He's kind of been dominating him week after week after week, but finally in the Liu Li Cup, Max Pax is able to get one over on Clem, a very close series regardless, and he does what Clem couldn't. He beats Rogue in the grand finals, which is more than Clem can claim.
Yeah, Max Pax having a much easier time in those finals, but again, Max Pax he is more known for his PVZ, and it's a little bit harder to really trip him up with some crazy strategies. So Rogue had a bit of a harder time, but yeah, really impressive showing here by Max Pax, having an even cleaner performance because he actually dropped the map to Rogue earlier in the tournament,
Oh,
in the
true.
earlier rounds.
Yeah, I see that now. So it actually was a rematch, just not the rematch we were
Yeah,
expecting.
true. Not wrong. So a strong performance there out of Max Pax, and again, it's really good just because I think a lot of people have been doubting him as of late, just because again he
Yeah.
wasn't able to showcase himself at EWC. He wasn't able to have the best performance at WTL either. These online events, it's where he needs to shine the most. And likewise, Wardy TV Festival, he also didn't have a big run either. But here he does well. He finally defeats Clem. It was a close best of 5, but did bring him
Yeah.
down.
And I mean, I guess we'll go into some of these other results that we've had in the next couple of weeks. But this looks like it could be the beginning of something here for Max Pax.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope this is the beginning of Max Pax closing the gap between him and Clem. It's still only one series, and Clem has still had the more dominant performances over Max Pax,
He
but
still has the record, yeah.
yeah,
Or he's
still has the
ahead in
record, but
yeah.
yeah, time will tell. Time will tell here. You know, we'll call up Oliveira, and he'll let us know.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So with that, congratulations to Max Pax for becoming our literally number 2 big champion. As we do head on over to the Sunrise Cup, which has been slowly progressing here. I believe last time we had wrapped up the qualifiers. We were going over the initial rounds. Looks like we have some results coming in. Nanami took down Jolo Loves. Oh yeah, we took down Jolo Loves. Looks like we didn't actually have some proper scores recorded for Oriana and his series, but Nanami is our, as you mentioned, first finalist.
Indeed, going to be going up against either Young Zest. I was going to say formerly known as Jadong Oz, but no, that's Jolly Willows, who is what's that? Yeah, I'm going to be going up against either Young Zest, Cyan, HHH, or Silky.
Yeah, and that's still a really hard one to call. I think if you remember at the time, because we were theorizing, we were predicting how the bracket would unfold, because at the time we only had the round of 12 that was shown, as well as the seeded players. We expected maybe like Nanami and Oriana facing off, and the winner would advance on. We don't even know if Oriana played. Like they could have been a walkover. We don't even know what happened. But Nanami does come out. It was the upper half of the bracket that's a little bit more ambiguous. I think Young Zest making it to the semifinals was a sure thing. But his opponent, we have Triple H, we have Silky, and we have Cyan. Sorry, we have Lancer. My apologies.
Right.
Yeah. Like this could go either way. I favor Lancer overall, but Silky, he can be a tricky one.
Yeah. It's one of those things, right, where we've been able to catch a lot more of Lancer in these online events. We've been able to get a sense of what his form is looking like, and he's looking pretty fantastic right now. Whereas we haven't been able to see the same from Silky. But just because we don't see a lot from a player in online events doesn't mean they haven't been practicing, and doesn't mean that they don't have a couple of tricks up their sleeve.
Exactly. Like, we know how amazing of a player Silky is, and we know that he can dig into Lancer on a good day, but depends on whether or not it's going to be a good day.
As a matter of fact, he's such a good player that he is the only one who is allowed to call himself Silky now.
True.
He played against American Silky, and you know what? In an honor match, and you know what? He came out ahead.
Yeah, knocked him into retirement.
Exactly.
Knocked him out.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of NA Silky anymore. That's what I'm saying.
So we'll keep you guys updated with the finale, with the conclusion of this tournament. Again, coming into it, I still feel like Lancer is the heavy favorites, but in these PvPs or even PvZs, upset potential is definitely there from Young Zest, Nanami, and Silky as well. So best of luck. Best of luck.
Best of luck to these guys, and I'm looking forward to a PvP finals, but I would not be upset with Silky making it all the way.
Definitely. As we head on over to an all-Imba show match, the very first edition of this.
Yes.
This kind of came out of left field. I'm not too familiar with this series or the organizer.
Organized by Sprite?
Yeah. Not 7-Up.
Not 7-Up. Not Chilsung Cider. Okay.
No. There you go.
Apparently not.
But apparently Sprite was one of the commentators as well.
Ah, there we go. Yeah. Good to see. Yeah, pretty nice to see. It's an interesting show match organized kind of by the Chinese scene, but featuring 2 Dutch players in Harstem and Euthermal. And I mean, pretty close series, all things considered. Euthermal surprisingly played Terran instead of random. And they also played out all 7 maps, they played out all 7 maps, with the last one being off race, which is a good thing, because this isn't the current map pool. This is more of an all-star map pool.
Yeah, this is wild. We have maps from Heart of the Swarm, like Cactus Valley and Overgrowth. I think we had some Overgrowth in Legacy of the Void as well. Yeah, Newkirk Precinct.
As being I will forever remember as being the map I won my first ladder game on.
My God. Yeah, really old maps here. So a blast from the past, a bit of a nostalgia show match between Euthermal and Harsum. I
So
mean, I appreciate that it went all the way to the ace match.
I would like to add
It didn't.
I would like to add that the way this show match worked, apparently they played on a mod that picks the strongest version of a unit from the entire like StarCraft history. I don't know who picks what the strongest is, like which version is the strongest,
Oh.
but it just picks like the most
Mm.
imba unit, like the most imba version of a unit, and just puts that into the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
the-
I see how
it's
it
the
is.
old
So
it's the
I
old
see
Limbo show
how
match.
it is. That makes a lot more sense here. So, yeah, it would have been like pre BlizzCon 2016 Reapers, like pre BlizzCon 2016 Reapers, and like pre Adepts with bouncing glaives.
Yeah.
That
Adepts, Banelings with extra HP, like there would be a lot. There'd be a lot that would a lot of changes reverted in a way. I feel
So
that
it
what I
proves.
appreciate.
Okay, go ahead. I was gonna say, so this proves that Protoss, Imba,
True.
was Harsem 1, and then also Euthermal when they off race, he played Protoss and he won that map. So
Yeah. Harsum didn't win this. Protoss won this.
yeah, Harsem off races Zerg and he lost.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Imba.
Imba. Does that also mean that was the old Swarm host?
Oh lord, maybe it was. Brute Lord? Infestor Brute Lord?
Yeah, but the old Infestor?
The old
True,
Infestor, the Wings of Liberty Infestor, yeah. The Wings of Liberty Ghost, where EMP like didn't cost anything.
There's a lot of potential here. What I was gonna say is that I appreciate the work put into it, because that mod I'm sure would have taken a lot of time, because you'd have so many patches to go over to make a spreadsheet and list unit changes and then adjust it and then figure out the best state of a unit period in the history of StarCraft. Like I feel like a lot of work would have been put into that.
I wonder if they're only going from post-release patches or if they include some beta patches, because apparently I wasn't around at the time. This was way before my time, but apparently in the Wings of Liberty beta, roaches were only one supply.
Yeah, there's crazy stuff like that. I'm curious if they only did it for Legacy of the Void, or if they went into the Heart of the Swarm and Wings of Liberty patches as well, and if they went through that. That sounds crazy. But if they use a mod, I would imagine that mod is publicly available.
Ravens with missiles that did damage.
A Hunter Seeker missile, true. Remember that?
Either Hunter Seeker or anti-armor that dealt like 100 damage on hit. Yeah.
Oh my god. Crazy.
Dealt 100 damage on hit, and also like just was flew at you almost in an instant. Like nowadays it's a little bit more slow moving, so you have time to micro away, but back when it was first introduced, just bam, 100 damage and 30 splash damage, or 100 damage to the target and 30 splash damage. Insane. And it's stacked. I want that now.
There you go.
Like, let's play this mod after the podcast.
Oh God, I was trying to remember the name.
Give me time to go mass Ravens.
Yeah, the old Raven. You have, of course, the mothership with Vortex. I think that was before your time, but Vortex was a big ability as well that was around
if you will.
The Archon toilet. Oh, that was a dark time. That was back in Wings of Liberty. So that sounds exciting, and suddenly I'm that much more interested in maybe checking out the VODs or something. Of course, that was over on Bilibili, but it sounds like a lot of fun.
Wow, my K-Darren amulet with High Templar that allowed you to warp them in at full energy. That
dark times. Meanwhile, we did also have the Ursasaurus Cup Rumble in the Americas. If you recall, we've been casting and covering the Ursasaurus Cup over the past 4 weeks, and each time we were briefly mentioning how there were going to be some show matches held for the top NA players in each week.
Yes, and those did get underway, but I'm kind of didn't see this one coming. Like, there was also an additional round of show matches coming down here. The tournament picks.
Yeah. Basically, I think the admins did kind of decide themselves to kind of pick these players to pin them against each other here in a best of three show match. This was more of like an appetizer. This was kind of like the intro to the show before kind of the main event with the big best of fives.
Indeed, and oh boy, we got him.
Mhm.
We did get
We-
them indeed. The players who, yeah, we kind of needled, and the admins also kind of needled as the top Americas players
Mhm.
for each event, and not too surprising how these matches went down, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very impressed here by Nero. Nero had a series against an Inexorable initially, went the way of Nero. Nero, he's less of a player and more of a streamer, so I was favoring an Inexorable, but no, Nero, he shows that he is still a competitor himself, that he can still threaten some of these big names, so a big win there for Nero. We had Belmielja versus J Money. J Money did take it 2-1, and then we had Eon versus Patches as well. So Eon versus Patches, I think, was a little bit more clear cut. Shout out to Patches, of course, for competing. Eon was one of the more heavy favorites. But yeah, it was really cool seeing these initial players being able to be showcased early on.
Yeah.
And then that led into the show matches themselves. We had Vendetta taking down Mute 3-0. Mute, of course, the Peruvian Protoss player. Mute has been improving a lot. He's been very active over the past couple of months. But Vendetta, he had a bit of a more dominant performance there in the first show match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately wasn't quite able to continue this into the second round. I mean, he had a really good start against Epic, Vindicta versus Epic. Vindicta had a really good start, but Epic was able to come back clutch and come in with the reverse sweep in the end.
Yeah, really close series that went all the way to the ace match. Again, I do think that Epic and Vendetta are quite comparable in skill, so really cool to see that go the distance. I'm curious to see how the VODs turned out there, so I might check that out myself later on. Again, it was casted by Dave Testa, it was casted by Steadfast and Enki in Spanish as well, and that led into the later show matches, which were a little bit more one-sided. I mean, Estrella is
Yeah.
the best player in the Americas, so he 3-0s Epic and he 3-0s Maples.
Yeah, not too unexpected here, I would say. I would have. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. I would say that Trigger wasn't quite able to make it into the America's show matches. I would have loved to see Estrella versus Trigger come to effect here, but yeah, it's just not quite meant to be. So yeah, Estrella once again going to be demonstrating why he is still the best player from the Americas region.
Oh yeah, and I feel like this is a bit of a teaser of what's to come. So
Yes.
I'm teasing you there, but Estrella did very well in the online tournaments this week, and we'll get there once we wrap up these initial show matches and these other events. Speaking of, we have the Super StarCraft Global. We've been going over the Supers show matches previously, but yeah, I was unaware of this. This is also a bit of an invitational where we only have 4 players, and we had Max going on a tear here in the PvPs.
Indeed, he did. As we were mentioning earlier, Max Fax, it looks like the Luli Cup kind of sparked a little bit of something inside of him. He took down Skillers 3-0 in a very clean sweep, and then also took down Showtime in a fairly strong showing. And honestly, a little bit surprised that Showtime was able to take 2 maps of Max Fax just looking at his form, just looking at Max Fax's form coming into this. But yeah, Max Fax, when he's in form, he is a monster, and I did end up taking it in the end. Took out Showtime. Showtime himself having a very close series against Spirit in the opening round.
Yeah, I mean, Showtime, he's shown us time and time again that he can threaten Max. He's always able to take maps, sometimes even series. Max, of course, he's the best Protoss in Europe, one of the best Protoss players in the world, so he was able to claim it in the end. But Showtime showing us that, again, clearly he can still pose a threat, and he's still a strong competitive player in his own right.
Indeed.
So congratulations to Max and Showtime for getting that first and second place. Meanwhile, we have the Basilisk Big Brain Bouts number 70 now wrapping up as well. We also had our show matches. We had Raynor taking down Clem in an off-race show match, best of 5, and this actually led to some images being posted on social media.
That. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember seeing that without knowing the context. I didn't realize that they off raced and played against each other, but I remember Raynor tweeted out just
Mhm.
like like a turtle Terran setup somewhere, and then
Uh-huh.
Clem responding with like, I worked so hard to block this from my memory. Please don't remind me of this again.
Yeah, Raider, he was like, how does it feel at Clem? And it was on Ghost River. You can see there was actually the first game that Rainer won in the series on Ghost River, where he had cut the map in half. Ghost River is a very small map and very prone to cutting in half in such a way. So, yeah, Rainer, he had some fun with his Terran and did defeat Clem in that off show match.
Yeah, very nicely done here. First against proves Imba.
Question mark. Likewise, we had Moja versus Sebestis. Did go all the way to the ace match as well. Moja, of course, recently joining PCEC. We did point out earlier that Moja has been competing quite often and improving quite steadily, and did take down Sebestis. Did go to the ace match though. Was a close best of 5 between the two of them.
Yeah, a little bit more back and forth as opposed to more of the reverse sweep that happened. Yeah, that happened in the Rainer Clem series.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, both very close regardless. And then we had another interesting, another interesting match, I would say, between Akeron and Cham. Kind of a, I wouldn't say a grudge match, but a little bit of a, shall we say, national pride match.
Uh-huh.
Considering it's the best player from Spain going up against
Uh-huh.
the with Juanito's hiatus, the best player from Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Mexico versus Spain. You love to see it. I mean, again, I appreciate. I think even last week we had some more show matches with Sham, but Sham has been featured a little bit more regularly recently, which is really fun. Just because he is not the most active of players in Open Cups, so really cool to see that he was invited here, and yeah, did take down Akeron here in the end. But yeah, that could have gone either way, and I do think they're both quite comparable
I
in skill.
I have to say, I feel like it would have been a little bit closer had Akeron not played random
True.
on the
True.
ocean board. Because yeah, looking at the notes here, they were gonna be it. Yeah, I imagine they did the thing where they ping pong servers, where it, started off with EU and then they went to US Central. I think is what is best for Cham, and then they went back to EU, and then they went back to US Central, and Akeron maybe thinking that with the ping advantage might have been able to showcase something. And I mean, I haven't quite seen this game, so it might have been close, but I feel like if he had continued to play Terran, he might have been able to bring it to the ace match. But then again, I do appreciate Akeron knowing that this is a show match, decided to give us a bit of a show.
Yeah, I think the server rules for EU versus Latin America is either all games played on Central or they alternate between Central and US
I see.
East. So I think that's why he played random. I think they made an agreement. I think Akedon he was like, I want to play on EU, and then Cham's like, okay, if you play on EU, you're gonna play random. He's like, okay. so
The
they
great
agreed. So
negotiator.
yeah. So Akedon he was able to play on his main server in game 3, but for the price of rolling random and having to off race instead. But congratulations to Cham for taking it in the end. And then we had the main event, which is actually a very close series. Shameless versus Mixu. I'm very impressed here that Mixu was able to take it. Mixu has been improving over time. I would have favored Shameless in this best of 5, which is why it's very impressive to see that Mixu did take it in the end, 3-2.
Yeah, two very young players who can sometimes be overshadowed by their countrymen. Just because they are more recent and more up and coming. So yeah, it's a very good premise for a main event show match, I would say. And yeah, I would just kind of echo your statements. I feel like we haven't seen a lot more of Shameless recently, and not as much of Mixu. So I would have favored Shameless slightly as well to take it in a close series, but Mixu came in clutch, almost got reverse swept, but then took the W in the end here on Amphion, which is doubly surprising when you consider the fact that he has also been practicing for the Deadlock League.
Definitely. Also, I apologize to Kura because I just realized that I just went it in reverse order by accident.
Yeah, for like the past 4 topics, it's been great.
I just realized. I
assumed you changed it. That's why I didn't bring anything up. I assumed you changed it just before we started.
It was not. It was
okay, I guess we have the wrong
unintentional.
order.
Yeah, it was. I just had them all open.
I just assumed I was the one that was wrong.
No. So I do apologize, but it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine, as we do finally have the Stasis Cup #1, the first edition. It looks like it was an invitational team show match series organized by Uthermal. Is this the beginning of a series? Potentially. But it's once again, though, a show match of 2v2. 2v2s.
Yeah. Sponsored by Uthermal's viewers.
Ah, there you go.
There we go. Yeah, 2v2s, Team Uthermal and Goblin. Uthermal this time did play random, so I always love to see that. Yeah, going up against Skillus and Moja, and I could be mistaken here, Light, but I'm reading the trivia, and
Yeah.
I believe that the name of this event was actually, it was named as it went on, or as it was progressing.
Mhm. I wonder what it was originally called. But yeah,
I think it was
interesting.
just like a Fermi 2v2 or something like that.
Maybe something less creative. But yeah, apparently, as you mentioned, it's called the Stasis Cup because of the amount of Stasis wards. Does that mean that each show match that they host are going to change the name of the tournament? Because
They should.
Oh,
Make it
God.
harder. Make it harder to archive. They should.
Mhm. There you go. But apparently, Skillus popping off with stasis traps and stasis wards. So yeah, really cool to see 2v2
Wait, hold
once
up,
again
hold
come
up,
to
hold
a
up.
head.
It says stasis wards activated by Skillus and Moja. Does this mean they were the one? Does this mean that they were the one, that Skillus specifically was the one who was using oracles to put down stasis wards, or does it mean that they
Oh,
ran into goblins and
true.
presumably thermal wards?
Yeah, if that's how you read it, like that makes sense, right? That if Goblin and
I gotta watch
Euthermal are
this
throwing
VOD.
down stasis, yeah, would they just stasising the hell out of Skills and Moja? Is that? Oh my god. Yeah, I haven't seen it myself, but I guess that's what it means? Question mark? Potentially. We'll have to do some research. But congratulations to Euthermal and Goblin. His viewers paid him, so congratulations, Euthermal. He keeps his money.
True. Well, he keeps some of his money. He still had to part with some of it to give to Goblin, but
No, apparently,
at least,
true.
At least he didn't have to give all of the money away.
Mhm.
You know?
Exactly. So I'm sure we'll be seeing some more of these in the future. And with that, we wrap up all of our show matches. Now we can jump into the Open Cups themselves, starting with the KSL.
Indeed, we do. And I look at this bracket light, and I see a lot of green. This is Beyond's nightmare.
Yes, the KSL. For those that are curious, the Korean StarCraft League is around midday Korean time on a Saturday. Because of that, Terran representation is very low because they're known to be more degens. So we rarely see Kyor or Byeon or Gumiho. They're more active in ESL Asia, for example, these later events, which is why I was pleasantly surprised to even see Byeon. Byeon, he either woke up early or he just stayed up and he played, but did get knocked down early on by Trap.
It's so poetic here. He took out Gemini in the first round, and then he got taken out by Trap in the next round.
Yeah, we casted it, and it felt like one of two things. Either Trap was upset for his boy being taken out, and he like, vent his frustrations and got his revenge for Gemini on Byeon, or Gemini, he was like thrown out early on to like scout and to like tell Trap like Byeon's builds.
I would say he was a sacrificial lamb, but I'm pretty sure he went there willingly.
Yeah. exactly.
For Trap, he would have gotten there willingly.
Exactly. So he kind of like stood in the way of Byeon to protect Trap. Wasn't able to. Trap took care of him himself. But yeah, it was a beautiful story that we had there between Gemini, Trap, and Byeon. The drama.
Oof. Trap, unfortunately, not quite able to make it all the way. He did get taken up by Dark in a close best of 3.
Yep, went all the way to the ace match. Likewise, so did Dark and Estrella, so really close matches there. Great to see the return of Dark. Again, Dark, he took some time off. So did Hero. Both Dark and Hero have returned. Hero also, he was on, if you remember last week, was his return as Hero was on vacation. But what was crazy here is the results. Zaun 2-0'd Hero and Zaun 2-1'd Nightmare. Zaun, I think you mentioned it last week, but Zaun, his PvP, it's looking like he never left.
Oh, yeah. It's looking like he never had to go into the military there. Specifically in the PvP matchup, taking out Nightmare and Hero, as you were mentioning. Huge upsets going on there, but unfortunately did end up falling to Shin in the semifinals.
Yeah, Shin popping off. He toured Classic, toured Rebellion, toured Xeon, and then we had a very rare ZVZ finals. Again, KSL is usually dominated by Protoss, usually dominated by Hero specifically. But as
Mhm.
we mentioned, Hero, he was on vacation. He's looking a little bit more rusty nowadays. He's, shaking that rust off. And in that period, we have the rise of Shin and Dark instead. Did go the way of Dark, so congratulations. That was a very intense ZVZ. As you can imagine, Yaku, it's very short.
Mhm.
We had a lot of all-ins from both players, both Shin and Dark.
Oh
They would
yeah.
constantly be cutting drones and just link flooding or going for these roach timings that were just constantly in each other's face. It was a very short best of 5, but a very fun one.
Those are the best ones, you know.
Yeah.
Oh
so,
man,
mhm.
it suddenly got into my head. I desperately want to see a 1v1v1 between Shin, Dark, and Rogue. Now that we know that they're all in form,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
like just how chaotic that would pan out. There are still a couple of 3-player maps out there
Mhm.
they can put in.
Yeah, there's definitely potential there, definitely, especially with the rise of Rogue. And again, like Rogue isn't playing in KSLs. Like again, Rogue, he's not the most active player, which is why it was crazy to see him just come out swinging in big Lil Luke Cup. Oh, sorry, Lil Lee Cup.
It's a tongue twister.
It is. So congratulations to Dark. He does win this week's KSL. We have to cherish Dark while we can because we don't know exactly when he's going. We know he's going to the military soon, just we don't really know when.
TM.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I assumed that he was gonna be going into the military after last year's Katowice, but he thankfully, I guess, he had a baby on the way, so the military
Mhm.
couldn't take him immediately. He was
Yeah.
able to get a little bit of extra deferment. So
Mhm. Congratulations nonetheless.
yeah.
Scrolling on over, we have the CSO Cup 75, an open cup more centered around the European time zone. And we had our regulars coming in swinging here. We had some very interesting results here. We had Cristiano taking down Shameless 2-1, and then Nicorette came out on top in a best of 5 over Cristiano.
Oh yeah. I mean, Nicorette taking out Cristiano, that's in my mind not too far fetched, but taking him out 3-1,
Mhm.
that's surprising to me and very impressive for Nicorette here. I think you mentioned it in the past. TVP is kind of his weakest
Yep.
matchup, and Cristiano is one of the best Protoss players in Europe. So
Mhm.
this is a very impressive result here from Nicorette.
Yeah, Nicorette, he has been evolving his TVP. I'll be honest, over the past, I want to say like maybe 2 months at most, it feels like Nicorette, he like rewatched like Oliveira's interview. Like like
Yeah.
it felt like Nicorette, he was like trying to work on his TVP and he was like, I need inspiration, I need
He's
guidance.
like,
And then
who's
he checked
another
the
player?
VODs.
Yeah. He's like,
Uh-huh.
who's another player who struggled with TVP until he received wise words from an
Uh-huh.
elder? And
Hmm.
then he watched that SC Boy interview that they had with
Yeah.
Oliveira, and he was like, "Wait, you're telling me that this is holding me back? My
Yeah.
brain is causing me
Uh-huh.
to lose?" And then he just threw it away, and evidently, it's bringing him success.
Hmm. And what I mean by that is that, at least in the TVPs that we've been able to cast from Nicorette recently over the past couple of months, he's been hyper aggressive. We've been
Yes.
seeing a lot of very decisive play out of Nicorette, whether it's all ins or whether it's just timing attacks. But it does feel like he has kind of taken the reins
Mhm.
in TVP, and he's been
Yeah.
having more success with it.
I feel like I bring up this anecdote a lot, but still, for those who don't quite know what we're talking about, uh, after I believe it was DreamHack Dallas, yeah, after
Mhm.
DreamHack Dallas, Oliveira flew back to China. He had an interview with SC Boy, and they were asking him, "Yo, going into the series, we were worried for you because we saw your group and it was nothing but Protoss, but you actually prevailed. How did your TVP get better and better?" And Oliveira said, "Well, I actually practiced a lot with Maru." And he told me that my biggest issue was that I was always trying to anticipate what my Protoss opponent was going to be doing, and I was always trying to come up with a counter from there, and it was holding me back when really I should have been setting the pace of the game myself and going on the offensive, which basically meant you're using your brain too much. Don't think. Don't think about it. Just attack.
Uh-huh. Yeah, just kind of the idea of trying to force the Protoss to respond to you instead and being the
Yep.
aggressor initially in the matchup. So it worked out well for Oliveira, and it feels like maybe Nickrecht has
Yeah.
kind of taken that to heart as well. At least from what we've seen, and
It
hey, to take down
yeah.
Cristiano, so impressive.
Yeah, seems to work at the pro level. I gotta say it at the at the much lower levels where I'm at. That does not work out. I try to go in. I try to go in on the aggressive, on the offensive, and be aggressive, and I miss 5 macro cycles. So
Oh no.
it works out really well when you have a strong mechanical foundation, and
Uh-huh.
it's what you should be doing at the top levels. But if you're trailing around diamond like I am,
Uh-huh.
maybe work on your fundamentals. I need to work on my fundamentals first.
Yo, am I listening to Milk right now? Let's go. Glad to hear that some of his words of wisdom has stuck around there, Yako. Good to hear. But
I
yes,
mean,
congratulations.
it can't. It's seared into my brain. I look at my bank account. I see that I have a balance in my bank account, and I'm like, I need to spend all this money, otherwise the taxman's coming after me. It's seared into my eyes. Spend your goddamn money.
There you go. Shout out to Old Mate Milk for
Milk
the
and
coaching
beast.
many years ago.
Yes.
But congratulations to Nickrecht for claiming the win here. Scrolling on over, we have our event Sparkling Tuna Cup number 67. And we just mentioned him, Cristiano. He may have come second in the previous event against Nickrecht, but here there was no Nickrecht. I did notice that when the bracket was seeded and when the check-ins finalized, Nickrecht is a regular in these tournaments, and he's usually the Terran player to keep an eye on to have a deep run. Nickrecht was not here, and I don't know if you noticed, but neither are some of the other top Korean players. Over the past couple of weeks, we've seen Byun, Shin, Trap, Nightmare. These 4 have been more regulars as of late in Sparkling Tuna Cup, but they were nowhere to be found here this week.
They discovered a mountain is going to be my assumption.
It's possible, yeah.
And that's why Bjorn and Creator were missing from a lot of tournaments last week. So
True.
I'm gonna assume that was also the case here.
So because that this was a more European focused event, we still had some Korean representation with Rebellion and Hon Mono. Likewise, we had Tortuga from Mexico alongside some Australian players. So some nice diversity. But when it came to the top players, mainly European, and Cristiano popped off. Fun fact, after the event concluded, he was like, "Mate, I didn't drop a single map." I'm like, "You're crazy." Cristiano claiming another win.
Yeah, another one. What is this, 14th, 15th under his belt? Something like that?
So, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he saw an opening and he went for it. He's reclaiming his domain, potentially.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, when it came to this event as well, I wasn't too sure who was going to be facing off against Cristiano. Like, he was the heavy favorite for the entire tournament, as it usually is, unless there's another big name. And this week, it wasn't just no Nickrecht, but there was no Geralt. Like, I expected Geralt to be the one to face face up against him, but he wasn't here.
That explains things. I was going to say, looking at the bracket, I would have guessed Nikic, honestly. Nikic, after how he kind of impressed us a lot in the other weeklies, but 'twas Art who took it in the end, and it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have Geralt this week. Exactly. It had to be another Polish Protoss player.
Exactly. I was like, oh, can we avoid the PvP finals? Geralt's not here. Art's
the
like,
PvP finals, yeah.
Exactly. So Art popped off. I mean, Art did have a very close series against Nikic. If I recall correctly, I think it was actually the highlight of the tournament. Art and Nikic had a banger of a game 1. It went to the late game. It was intense. There was some sky toss. There was some like Hydra Lurker counterattacks and a bunch of chaos. And game 1 was beautiful. And then it felt like after game 1, Nikic had enough, and then he tried to all in like a bunch of times. He was like, yo, that was like a 35-minute game. I spent all my energy.
35-minute ZVP. Good lord, that would have drained anyone. Can't fault Nikic then. Yeah.
Yeah, so after that he went for like a Ling Bane bus, he went for like a Roach, right? He just had enough, and he just sent it. Didn't have as much success as he won the first game.
And also because he looked at the upper semis played out first. He looked at if he won against Art, he would have been faced against Cristiano in the grand finals in a best of 5, and he's like, yeah, I'm actually planning to go to bed at some point tonight, so
Not like this. So in the end, Art did make it.
Uh,
Honestly, a really impressive performance there out of Art as well. Like I feel like Art is recently has been overshadowed by Christiana,
mhm.
by Geralt, by Mana as well. Like Art is a really good player, but he's actually not too active. You know, we mentioned before how like there are some players like Spats, for example, that doesn't really play in a lot of these online tournaments. Art is similar. Like he has like these like bursts of like enthusiasm to compete, and then he like steps away for a little bit, then he comes back, then he steps away. So he comes in waves, and yeah, it was impressive to see him make it to the finals. Didn't take down Cristiano in the end, but you know, Cristiano, he is part two now.
He is now, yeah.
Mm.
He is sparkling once more.
He is. So, congratulations to Cristiano for winning this week's Sparkling Tuna Cup. Heading on over, we have the Tenacious Turtle Tussle. That was the following morning instead,
Yes.
and we had Estrella popping off. We will have to fix up the Liquipedia page though, because that's not quite
Did
what
he not
happened.
off race and dominate? Ah,
No, I don't know why that's
they
like
ruined.
that.
Well, that's gonna be it for me then. No,
He did off race against Eon though. I think that's why
he did.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
the bracket is a little bit messed up. But he did off race against Eon.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he play random or? If
I
you look
played
at the details, it says
Hold on, I'm
Protoss and
fixing
Oceanborn.
it.
But yeah, we did have our Tenacious Turtle Tussle, and we spoke earlier about keeping an eye on Estrella, right? Where Estrella he had a good performance previously, and now here he is winning. I think his first Tenacious Turtle Tussle actually. His first one.
I believe so. We have
I'll have
a
to double
quick
check
little
that.
look here at the table. Let's see, Eric trigger.
Oh, his
trigger,
second.
Trigger. His second, yeah. The first time he played as random? Question mark.
I believe he did. Yeah, I believe he did play random.
Neat.
Yeah, so it was his first one this year. We can say that at least. That Estrella has won a Tenacious Turtle Tussle. He was able to pop off. He was able to take down Homono. He took down Geralt in the grand finals in a PvP. Likewise, we had a Trigger versus Geralt. And honestly, I was waiting for Trigger versus Estrella. I was hoping for that rematch. I was hoping for a PvP between the NA boys. But Geralt had other plans. It looks like maybe, even though he missed out on Sparkling Tuna Cup earlier that day, he popped off and made it to the finals here.
Yeah, he had a mission. He had to make up for the fact that he wasn't around for Sparkling Tuna Cup.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the PvPs did continue here in this event, but in the end, Estrella did win it out on top. He was able to start kind of maybe the beginning of a streak here. We'll keep an eye on that as Estrella is the turtle for this week.
Indeed, he is. He's in a half shell.
He is. Shout out to Geralt. Though. Fun fact, Geralt, he's had a very unique style of PvP as of late. We saw it against Trigger, we saw it against Estrella. But Geralt, he's been doing this thing where he actually, these were kind of longer standard games, but he's been rushing into disruptors a lot. He's been rushing into disruptors very often in PvP.
I like the sound of that.
And he's been getting away with it as well. Like very often, it's been hard to kind of punish him for it, and he pops off with his ball spot.
Is it like the Blink Disruptor of the past, or is it just rushing into disruptors?
It's like the Blink Disruptor of the past a little bit. Like
Okay.
where usually in a PvP you'd have like Blink Stalker into Charged Archon Immortal. He like skips out on the Archon phase. He just goes straight into Disruptor instead. More defensively early on, and it leads into Skytoss as well. If he can like stabilize on 4 bases, he's very willing to just take up and go to the late game. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Protoss balls, so
Yeah.
I hope they
For
do
good
come
reason.
back. Yeah.
For good reason. Meanwhile, we have the following day, the Wardy TV Monday. I say the following day, sorry, it was that evening, after Tenacious Turtle Tussle. We have the Wardy TV Monday, where we had Clem pop off. And this is more of what we've been expecting as of late as well. But fun fact, Clem even had a bit of off racing in the early rounds.
Yeah, against Nucaract. He heard that Nucaract's weakness was PvT or TvP, so decided to test that out.
Did hear that. Did play Protoss in the early rounds. Then he was able to take down Nightmare 2-0. Took down Hero 2-0 as well. He had a very chaotic series against Hero, is what I will say. It was a 2-0, but Hero was very in his face. And Hero didn't have a bad performance either. He took down Bjorn to make it to the semifinals.
Yeah, Bjorn, Geralt, that's pretty good results, I would say. But I mean, again, Clem on a good day, capable of taking out literally anyone and everyone.
I mean, yeah, even on a bad day, Clem is pretty
True,
crazy.
yeah. Even on a bad day, you have to. Even on a bad day, it's at the very lowest 50-50 of whether he beats you or not, or whether he
Yeah.
beats his opponent or not.
Like, if you're saying that, like, Clem on a bad day was the Leo Lu Cup, and he still went to the Ace match against Max Pax, you know,
True,
like,
yeah.
that's still crazy. But here, he was able to come out on top. He took down Max Pax 3-1. Max Pax was able to have a good performance himself. He got his revenge over Rex. If you recall, it was last week where Rex took down Max Pax in the KSRS. But here, Max Pax had a deeper run and a stronger performance.
Yeah. Pretty deep, pretty strong. Did fall to Clem in the end there, unfortunately, but you know what? That's not the only time, or not the first time this week, or not the first time since Monday, that the two of them face off.
Yeah, exactly. So their rivalry does continue. So we do appreciate that Clem and Maxpax have been facing off. Shout out to Trap as well. Trap also took a map off of Maxpax in PvP, which does not happen too often at all. So again, Trap has been on that rise, just like Rogue. Maybe not as successful as Rogue, but again, has been on the rise nonetheless.
Yeah. Shout out to Sue here, noticing him on the bracket, taking a map off of Bjorn. So it's nice to see.
Yeah, I think that was casted by Wardy at the time, but yeah, great to see. Sue he's another one where it's like, is he like retiring or not? Like, what's going? Like, he barely plays in anything, but every now and then he shows up. It's like, okay, so he's still there. He's still looking good. Still looking strong. We need more Sue, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I agree.
As that night, deep later into the night, we did have the Kalara Steadfast Roddy Cup number 6.
Yeah, a lot of signups this time. Extremely stacked bracket, and what catches my eye immediately, Light, is that it's not completely green. Got a whole good mix of Protoss, Terran, and Zerg coming in here. It's still more Protoss than the other two races, but a pretty good distribution, I would say, overall.
Yeah, it's more balanced than it usually is, right? Especially for a European-centric event. So really cool to see more Terran and Zerg representation. We had Spirit taking down Shin 2-1. Very big win there for Spirit. Do love to see it. He even took a map off of Clem in the TVT.
He did, and that was a best of 3, so very close to winning.
Oh, yeah. So Spirit doing very well for himself. We had likewise Max Pax going on a tear through the lower half of the bracket. Took down Bjorn 2-0. Once again, shout out to Bjorn. He stays up. He plays in all the tournaments. He goes full degen here on Mondays. So he played in the Wardy TV event, and he played also in this event here, the Kalara Steadfast Roddy Cup as well.
Yeah, which ended up being worth it because in the end, he gets his revenge once again on Clem, taking him out in the grand finals.
Yeah, Max going all the way to the once again going to the Ace match in a best of 5. So very similar to Leo Lee Cup as well, where Max defeats Clem twice this week. That's impressive. Again, coming into this week specifically, I feel like it was very heavy in favor of Clem, like the series score. So Max he's fighting back.
Yeah, it's still in favor of Clem, but it's getting closer.
Exactly. So really cool to see that there's a little bit more of a back and forth than there was before. So Max showing off, why he's the best Protoss in Europe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna take another look over this bracket here to see if there's anything particularly of note. Nice to see Nicorakt taking out Harstem here, 2-0, once again, improving his TVP.
Yeah. Exactly. We see Aragfire again, once again becoming a little bit more active, so it's great to see that Aragfire. I mean, he's a really young player, really cool to see that he's still active, he's still competing as well, alongside many others. Another little thing to take note of is Shameless versus Boanan went to the Ace match, which means Boanan did take a map off of Shameless cannon rushing.
Forgot about that. True.
Hmm. As he is
Inexorable. That's a name I didn't expect to show up here.
Yeah, inexorable. Takes a map off of Shin. Happy. That code for Giants Cup win. Just saying.
Yeah.
Like he wins code for Giants Cup, takes a map off of Shin. Very impressive.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. So yeah, with that wrapping up, Max Baxi takes on Clem in the weekly, and then we have the Stego Monday Cup. Now, for those that are curious as to what this is, we've been hosting the Ursasaurus Cup over the past 4 weeks. That has come to a conclusion, and the Saurus part of the Ursasaurus, the dinosaur part, if you will, has broken off and is hosting its own tournament, the Stego Monday Cup instead.
Just when I thought I was out, they make me wake up on Monday morning again.
Exactly.
Oh, they make you wake up. I'm sound asleep.
Yeah, this was very last minute. As you mentioned, like, this was very last minute. I did not know this event was going to happen. I was in bed. I'd stayed up last night, the previous day, expecting not to have to cast in the morning, but nah. We always cast on Mondays. Always.
Easy.
Tuesday morning, even for me.
Tuesday, yeah. Like the days they blend together.
They do. And Estrella popped off. I mean, we mentioned before that Estrella, he was able to win Tenacious Turtle Tussle this week. And not just that, but he also pops off here, taking down some even bigger opponents. Not an easy run at all, but he takes down one of each race, Solar, Beyond, and Trap.
Yeah. Some of the absolute best players of their respective races in Korea and in and out of Korea as well. Even got to show off a little bit of his off race here against Pig.
Yeah. Very impressive Terran performance out of Estrella. Again, he was able to bring down Solar in these more dynamic back and forth in the mid game. Took down Björn. He had a dominant performance against Trap. I was very surprised by the finals, by the way, because even the semis went to the ace match. Like, it was very close. It was a very close series between Estrella and Björn. There was a lot of late game. There was a lot of like 25-30 minute games as well. Like it went the distance between Estrella and Björn, but the finals, they ended far faster, far more quickly. It was a little more chaotic instead between Estrella and Trap.
EVP, what can I say?
Yeah. Definitely. As Trap had a good performance himself. Like, he took down Geralt, he took down Shin to make it to the finals. Like, again, it was not an easy run for Trap at all, but that is why it was a very impressive result from Estrella to get the 3-0 in the end.
Yeah. I have to echo that. Estrella, he's on point. He heard us mentioning last week that, there may be some contenders for the top NA player or the top American player or America's player, and
yeah,
he took that personally, and I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see it myself.
I mean, now I'm that much more frustrated that we haven't seen Estrella and Trigger, right? Like,
right,
Estrella, like,
yeah.
we almost got it in the tussle, in the turtle tussle, but they missed each other. Like, Trigger, he got knocked out in the semis, if you remember, by Geralt, so they weren't able to face off. And I feel like we're being robbed of something. Like, we need to see them play. We need that show match
Soon. TM.
Yeah, but personally,
this year's Duckling Showdown.
Yeah, there you go. It's possible. Personally, I do think that a lot of this is maybe Estrella's practice paying off. Like, sometimes it takes a while for it to kick in, but if you remember, Estrella, he spent time in Korea, like, with Clem. It wasn't just Clem on his own. We had that NA DGen team house in Korea with Clem, Future, Trigger, and Estrella, and that may all be coming to fruition.
I like how we call it the NA DGen team house when there were at least 2 members from EU there, Clem and Goblin. Clem, Goblin, Estrella, Trigger. There was a 5th, right?
They got adopted. It's one of those things where
I see.
Where that team house, it's like the equivalent of the NA embassy, the the American embassy, where they step in and now they're suddenly American.
Soil, yeah.
Yes,
they're on NA soil.
Exactly.
They jump out Korea, jump in NA.
Exactly. So for that period at least, Clem, he was adopted, and he was part of the NA boys.
Yeah, he was DGen enough in sleep schedule, so
yeah, they accepted it. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
But yeah, I do think that's part of it, where Australia was putting in a lot of work, of course, in preparation of EWC, and now he's popping off and yeah, looking very, very strong. Looking very impressive.
Yeah. It's like I I feel like we've all experienced it in some form, right? Where it's like you can be practicing something, or you can be taught something, or you can be rereading some kind of instruction over and over and over again, and it's like, why can't I get it right? But then one day you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try, and suddenly it just clicks together. And that
Mhm.
I do feel like that's a lot, and I do feel like that's the case for Australia a lot when it comes to whether it's his new builds or like a specific weakness that he wants to be working on, that he will be grinding it day after day after day. You don't really see that much improvement between the days that pass, but then all of a sudden he wakes up and it's like, oh, now I see how to do it, and then bam, he's over it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it's all coming together, and sometimes, as you mentioned, like it takes a little bit of time for that to really kind of click, and that for that to really all kind of connect and come together. And yeah, as you mentioned as well, like it wasn't like these were the most standard games as well. It was an Australia tournament in very Australia fashion, right? Where we had some unique
Yeah.
builds. You know, we had a weird like immortal based all in against Solar. We had a lot of DTs against Trap in the PvP. Like Australia just kind of coming at it and having his own like approach as well, his own twist to some of these games. So really entertaining performance out of Australia. Again, winning 2 weeklies here, or 2 tournaments this week. And something that I also want to add as well is it's really cool to see that Australia's been as active as he has been, not just this
Mhm.
week, but in last week's as well. It's not necessarily something that happens all the time, but yeah, Australia has been a lot more active as of late.
Yeah. In the lead up to Home Story Cup, here's
Mhm.
hoping.
Yeah, here is hoping as we head on over and we have the Wardy, or as we conclude this week's Open Cups, and now we jump into the Wardy TV Oktoberfest. As we have the group stage underway, we just had the first 2 groups.
Indeed, we have, and this is going to be a little bit unlike the Wardy TV Festival in the sense that it's a lot more spaced out here. So
Mhm.
we don't have to rapid fire all of them, but as you mentioned, the first 2 groups it did conclude, and yeah, we're waiting on Group C and Group D to finish up before we get into those playoffs.
Oh yeah, and this is a player that has been on fire as of late, especially in the most recent big online event, Rogue. Rogue makes it out of Group
Yes.
A in second place, did go down to Showtime in their best of 3. It was the only game that Rogue lost, but he was able to defeat everyone else in the group, and he knocks out one of the more favored players, at least before this week. I would have said that Björn would have been a sure thing, but Björn is knocked out of the tournament.
Yeah, 100%. If this took place a week ago, even just a week ago, I would have said
Mhm.
100% Showtime and Beyond are going to be the ones making it out. But Rogue, he's got tricks, man. He is on fire. He is on back on his way up to champion form, and it shows. It shows itself once again here in Wardy October.
Yeah, and the results, it definitely is showing. So very impressive stuff there out of Rogue. I can also harsh them as Björn as they get knocked out of the tournament. Rogue and
My
Showtime just a little
Shopify
bit more
boys.
info.
No.
True. The
Feels bad.
Shopify boys, they do get knocked out here in the group stage. But I'm looking forward to seeing more of Rogue. I feel like there's a lot of hype around Rogue, especially now. To see if even there's a rematch, right? Like Clem is also in this tournament. He's in Group D, so we could see them face off again.
Yeah. See if by then, if the Changeling Nidus still works there for Rogue.
Exactly.
Group
I mean, again, I'm sure Clem has time to like ruminate over that series.
ruminate and hopefully not smoge too hard. Or
Yeah.
maybe the smoge is good. Maybe the smoge is what you need to unlock
Mhm.
the unnatural powers.
Yes. You have to let the smoge flow through you.
Group.
So,
And I was just gonna say, Group B, meanwhile, does look a lot more as to what we were expecting. Max, Vex, and Spirit making it out. Zaun and Wayne not making it out. But looking into the details, it's a little unfortunate. It seems that Wayne just wasn't available on the day to play out these matches.
yeah, really unfortunate. Like we mentioned before, but Wayne, he is a really good player. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to compete here this week. We had purely forfeits out of him. He definitely could have contested and maybe even made it into the top two. It's definitely within the skill level of Wayne,
Hmm.
but I guess we weren't really know in the end just because he did have the forfeits. And yeah, with that, Max Vex and Spirit make it out instead.
Indeed, they do. And that's all we know for now. We do have our other two groups prepared for us, or kind of prepared for us. Group C is ready to go on the way. Shin, Oliveira, Cure, Hero. That's going to be scheduled for about 5 days from now. And
Mhm.
Group D is not quite fully confirmed, but at the very least, we do know that Solar, Clem, and Trap are going to be playing there.
Mhm. And because of that, that means that for the next podcast, these two groups would be wrapped up by then, and we can go over the results. But that also means, Yaku, you know what time it is? It's prediction time. Who makes it out of Group C?
Ooh, well,
who makes it out, Yaku? Who makes it
I
out?
made the mistake in the past of discounting Cure.
Mm-hmm. You gonna do it
Okay,
again?
I have I want to, but I have a hit pick and I have a gut pick
Okay.
and I have a
Okay.
heart pick. So
Okay.
heart,
3.
3 picks, yes. Heart, I would say Oliveira and Hero. Those are the two who I'm rooting for the most. Not that I'm rooting against Shin or Cure. Well, I will root against Cure if he whips out Cyclones again. But yeah, Oliveira and Hero are the two who I would say I'm bigger fans of right now, and who I do want to see making it out a lot. So that's Heart. Brain is telling me Cure and Shin, because just based on results and based on the fact that, yeah, Hero, he is an amazing player, Oliveira as well, but I would rate the Cure and Shin higher just based on recent results, right? I mean, recent results on the weekly events is what I should say. You know, Hero, he's just returning, he's not quite in full form, so Cure and Shin seem to be the most likely. But my gut feeling is telling me Shin and Oliveira, and I can't explain why. That's just a feeling I have.
Okay. Are you just hungry? Is that what's happening right now?
Probably, yes.
Let's go. Now, I would have
It-
to agree when. Go ahead.
It could also be that I just saw the seat, that I just saw that they're both seated at the top, and then
Okay.
my brain immediately is like, oh, automatically I'm like, oh, that means they're making it through.
There you go.
Because I see the green next to their names. It could also be that, but no, I think it's just a gut feeling mostly.
So I agree when it comes to the heart pick. As you mentioned, I'm a big fan of Oliveira and Hero. I would love for them both to advance on and to get them, representing in the next rounds. But I do agree in the sense that Hero hasn't been looking as impressive these past couple of weeks, just because he only recently came back from his vacation. So I do have to lean away from Hero when it comes to my predictions. I think you went a head pick Cure and Shin. I think I'm gonna go. God, the Cure, he always floats under the radar for me. I don't know why, but so I feel like I need.
I mean,
to.
I made that mistake last time.
Yeah, an
So.
understandable one. I think I'm gonna go Oliveira Cure. I think the
Okay.
two
Is it
Terran
because
boys.
Terranimba? Or
True. No, it was I mean Oliver's been doing well recently, like not just at EWC, but remember the Bulgaria event, which was like a
True,
month ago
yeah.
at this point. True, it's been a month. It's been a month since the
though, so.
Bulgaria land, but like Oliveira still was very much so informed there. So I do think it's gonna be Oliveira versus Cure, but Shin can always pop off. Like Shin is just a wild card. We've seen Shin cheese the hell
That's
out of
why I
Clem.
gave him my gut pick.
Yeah, he can cheese the hell out of any of these Terrans as well. Like like Shin's crazy. But I think I have to vote against him because he keeps playing on Dynasty. That's
true. If he goes up against Hero, yeah.
Or even against Terran players, he plays on Dynasties. Well, he doesn't spine rush Terrans on Dynasty, but yeah, he still plays on it though. And I just don't. I can't agree with it. I cannot get behind it. It can't happen.
You've never seen a Zerg player do well on Dynasty, is what you're saying.
Look,
unless it's a ZVZ.
Look, next week when we get the results coming in, we need to see his series. We need to see his maps that he played, and we need to see if he played on Dynasty again. Okay,
and then you're gonna immediately just not even go into his DMs. You're booking the first flight to Korea, and you're like, why? You're gonna knock down his door, just grab him by the shoulders, and be like, What is wrong with you?
No, I'm gonna knock down his door. He's gonna like be in the door in the hallway. I'm gonna walk past him. I'm gonna go to his PC. I'm gonna veto Dynasty. I'm gonna veto Dynasty in his BNet client. That's what I'm gonna do.
You're gonna hack into. You're not even gonna just veto it in his account. You're gonna hack into his files and just
Yes.
remove Dynasty and make it so that he can never download the map data for Dynasty.
Yes. Exactly. That is what I'm planning to do. That's God.
You're gonna hack the Blizzard servers and you're just gonna remove it from the game. Not even from the ladder, from the custom maps as well.
Oh yeah. Just
It's gonna
because
be
of Shin
it never
as well.
existed. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not because of the map. It's because of Shin.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Cure Oliveira, but again, Shin can cause upsets. We'll find out what happens next week. Meanwhile, we have Group D, which apparently has a missing player. Apparently, there is an unconfirmed invite. If you recall, for the Wardy TV Festival, I believe that slot last time was filled by Trigger. I think Trigger, he was like the last second replacement man. So he could be an option again, to be honest. But especially because how active. Yeah, how active Astrea's been, I would love for Wardy to invite Astrea, but I can definitely see Trigger being invited, especially if it's at a more like Korean time slot like event.
You know what, Astrea, Trigger, it's the number 1 NA and the number 2 NA, so they're interchangeable here.
True.
They're interchangeable in our predictions.
They're the same. It's fine. Kappa. So who would your prediction be? Under the assumption, unless you have another idea for the other invites,
right. Under the assumption that it's going to be Trigger or Astrea. Well, okay, here's the thing. I feel like looking at the opponents here. Okay, that's tough.
Remember, Astrea did recently beat Trap and Solar.
He did. That's the thing. I was gonna say, if it was Astrea coming in here, then my picks would probably be either Clem Trap or Clem Astrea, because I do feel like Solar is underperforming a little bit here, but no, wait, what am I saying? Okay, what I was trying to get at is that I feel like Astrea would be favored against Solar. I would say probably 60 or 70% Astrea in favor of Astrea if it's Astrea Solar, a bit more 50-50 if it's Astrea Trap. And then I would say Clem is more favored against Astrea. Whereas with Trigger, I would probably say 50-50 Trap and 50-50 Solar. Whereas Clem obviously would be heavily favored against Trigger. But as I say that, I realize the result doesn't change much at all. Regardless, it would still be Clem Trap. It would still end up being Clem Trap. Maybe Clem Astrea. Maybe Clem Astrea if Astrea is the third pick, but if it ends up going Trigger, then I would say it's more... I would feel more confident in that pick of Clem and Trap. I do feel like Solar is underperforming lately. I would love for him to prove me wrong, especially since this is going to be a very important event for him. I forgot about it entirely, but Solar is still teamless right now and is still looking for a team, so a really good performance in the Wardy October would... I'm sure that's what he's working towards. I'm sure he's hoping that he can get a really good result here and kind of, once again, use that as leverage for potential team owners. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it last week as well, but right now is the most important time for Solar, just because, as you mentioned, he is teamless, so he does have to perform well. Just because it's teamless, that means he has no salary currently, so he has to, earn his money through winnings in these online tournaments, and also getting exposure and hopefully getting the attention of another team. So, as you mentioned, it is very important for Solar to do well and to make it to the playoffs. But echoing what you said, I think Clem is a sure thing. Clem, he's going to make it over into the playoffs. I mean, he's the best player in the world right now. When it comes to the second player, again, as much as I would love Wardy to invite Astrea, I don't know if he will. I don't know if that's gonna happen. So it's hard. It's hard to predict. I'm gonna lean on Clem versus Trap, but depending on who gets invited in, I mean, even Trigger can pose a threat as well. I think you said like 50-50, like between Trigger and Trap, and even Trigger and Solar. Trigger has been improving a lot as well. Which is also why I want to see Trigger versus Astrea. I want to see how they compare to each other right now, because they've both been on the rise. Yeah, like they've both been doing really well recently. They both have improved. So We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm also going to lean towards Clem and Trap, but I would also love to
Watch,
see Solo do well.
watch the final player invited be Ryung.
I
In
mean,
which case, obviously, my heart pick would have to go to Ryung, but
true. Like that's the thing, right? There's a lot of options. I mean, we're focusing a lot on like Korean or NA players, but even some Europeans, like I don't know, like Cristiano or Nick Racked or
Geralt,
another
now
player.
he's
Yeah,
on new team.
yeah, Geralt, young Yakov, right? Who's been
Mhm.
popping off recently as well. Like there's other potential invites. I don't envy
We're
Wardy
only
for being.
we're
in this
only
position to pick
assuming it's
someone.
going to be Trigger because that's both who we want to see in this event. Let's be honest, but also
Mhm.
who was invited last time. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, there's zero like strong indications that it is 100% going to be Trigger or Stray. It's just what we speculate it's going to be.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what comes in the end. We'll see if maybe Trigger just becomes a replacement man. Maybe he, like
We'll
just
see.
that. Maybe he just keeps getting invited. It's possible. It's possible. So we'll see. Regardless, with that, I guess that is going to be us wrapping up all the events for the weekend. There was a lot going on, not just tournaments, but also just a lot of news in general when it comes to what is to come, when it comes to player switches and roster changes and all this stuff. So, yeah, it's really cool to see so much happening here in StarCraft.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's very tempting. Like now that we've kind of got to talk about it a little bit, now that we've got to brainstorm, I'm really tempted. I kind of wanna back the Kickstarter now.
Yeah,
I might be able to scrounge something together, and yeah, I might be able to scrounge something together for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It all started with a Kickstarter, and again, it's definitely something worth supporting, especially when it comes. We're so close to the European interviews
Just
as well, to the Europe tour.
less than $400 more.
Oh yeah, it's
for
almost
yeah.
guaranteed that we're gonna get there. Like with 25 more days, 100%, we're gonna get there. 100%. Yeah.
It's a 30k goal that might be a little bit out there, but fingers crossed. Hopefully we can hopefully we as a community can scrounge something together, because that will be, it feels like a missed opportunity, right? If you're going to be going to Korea and then going to Europe and then not quite going to NA with that. But again, these things cost money. It's very logistically intensive, so it's up to us, right? It's up to us to come together.
Oh yeah, it is up to the community. It's up to the people to come together to make this happen ourselves instead. And yeah, with that, we are wrapping up here for the week. As always, as we always conclude, if you want to compete in some of these online tournaments, these open cups, not necessarily the Wardy TV October, as that is an invitational, but for all these other events, we have the sign-up list. The sign-up list is being updated by Kuro on a regular basis. We do have not just the open cups, but something that is happening tomorrow or in 2 days is the Home Story Cup qualifier. We spoke about that last week, but the qualifier, the second one is in a couple of days.
Yeah, theoretically anybody could sign up for that, and hey, if you manage to win that, you get free travel and board to Home Story Cup. So you can try your luck. Your chances of winning it are higher than 0%.
There you go.
It may be lower than 1%, but it is higher than 0.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of these events have
There's a chance.
have the raffles. They're raffles.
Yeah. I was talking specifically about the Home Story Cup qualifiers, but yeah, the other ones they have raffles. So just play, compete, have fun. Talk to some other people in the community, some other very passionate members of the community who come in and like to compete on a regular basis, even if they're not the best. And maybe you'll win the raffle. Keep my finger. Maybe you'll win it, but you won't, because I'm going to win it.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, so for the next week we have the Home Story Cup qualifier number 2. We have the StarCraft Evolution League number 4. You have STC Sparkling Tuna Cup. We have the next Team League Wardy event, which is going to be the Wardy TV 3v3 October Cup. We've been having like 2v2s and 4v4s, but the next one is going to be a 3v3, so some more Team Cup action. We have a Vietnamese weekly event called the Play Open Cup number 5, and many other events as well.
That's a blast from the past. I'm glad to hear that the Vietnamese scene is still going. Or
Oh, yeah.
still going pretty strong? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not quite the regular Open Cup that we
Yeah.
were used to seeing back in the day. The Ao Dai weekly, if you recall.
Yeah.
I was like, I
What is
was
it
reaching
called?
into the recesses of my
Banh mi?
mind.
It's like, no, the Aodai, not food.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
traditional Vietnamese food, but instead traditional Vietnamese clothing. That's
There
what
you
it
go.
was called.
So it is a Vietnamese only tournament, and yeah, it's really cool to see that they're bringing that all together. Some faces that I haven't seen in a long time. It's good to see them all again, once again.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's just a Simon back? I have to...
Unfortunately, not. I
Isn't it?
did see
Yeah.
Thuklao though.
Ooh. Yeah, it's another name I haven't heard in quite some time.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long time. Has been a long time. But yeah, with that, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching as well. Yaku, do you have anything you want to say before we head off for the night? Where can we find more views? What I should say.
Is there anything I would like to say before heading off? Hands off my number one MMA title. I don't have the budget for it yet, but once I'm able to scrounge $100, that's what I'm pledging.
There you go.
That's my closing statement to the viewers there. But other than that, twitch.tv/YakuZaku1. I haven't streamed in a long time, and it's possible that I'm not going to be streaming for a very long time to come as well. But that's it, with a positive connotation at the end there. So see what goes. !Discord in the chat is where you can find. We'll bring you to the CranKy Ducklings Discord server. It's where you can find me. It's where you can find Light. It's where you can find Kuro. So you can find everyone who is cool. So if you think you're cool, you should join that as well. Twitter.com at Empora Yakuzaku and Blue Sky at Just Yakuzaku. Not just. There is a Blue Sky .yakuzaku is what I should say.
There you go. So check out more of Yaku over in his own personal channel. Likewise, we'll be joining us for the PondCast and potentially a cast here or there again. Potentially Yaku's going to be a little bit more busy over the next couple of weeks and couple of months, but we'll see what happens. Likewise, shout out to Kuro, aka 16 Squad Senseki, has been handling the production and was able to chime in and was able to elaborate on some things earlier on. We had Yaku's beautiful translations, but Kuro, she was able to help out a little bit, even though Polish isn't necessarily her native language. I was able to help out Yaku a bit. Yeah,
can be a little bit difficult to read, so
it can be.
You do appreciate the aid there, yeah.
Yeah, it's good effort. So do check out Kuro on her own personal channel. Does stream every now and then. Has been streaming some Final Fantasy, and I'm sure many other games in the future. And otherwise, you can follow myself at light_VIP on Twitch and Twitter. I try to stream on a regular basis whenever we're not casting here. I was actually laddering earlier on my personal channel, so if you're interested in some StarCraft 2 ladder or some Final Fantasy or some other games, you can follow my own personal channel. We leave the CranKy Ducklings only for casting and for team content. We don't do like individual ladder sessions here, so we keep that free from the CranKy Ducklings. We do that elsewhere.
Yeah.
We
won't taint the main channel with our
with the smudge,
with the shenanigans, you know.
Exactly. Only for team games.
Well, even then, you're walking a fine line.
But otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for watching. Again, this is a weekly show, so next week we'll be back to keep you up to date with all the news in StarCraft 2. If there's anything that we missed that you want us to talk about in regards to StarCraft, then consider joining our Discord. You can let us know. You can send us some links, and we will add them to the topic list to go over. Otherwise, you can help support us on Patreon, !Patreon in the chat, !socials in the chat as well. You can follow the CranKy Ducklings on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord. We do stream on Twitch and YouTube at the same time, so VODs are instantly available on YouTube as well. Plenty of content, plenty of StarCraft. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Ciao.
Bella.